So you guys have probably already seen the Mickey Mouse blood, or the not the Mickey Mouse, the Winnie the Pooh blood and honey,
Oh
and
yeah.
then
Mm.
the Mickey Mouse stuff that they've been doing, the Mickey Mouse horror movie and stuff like that. All because the copyright on the initial versions of these characters have been lost by Disney and fallen into the public domain. Within hours of that happening, in the case of Mickey, we learned about spin-off horror movies that we were getting that are also from the same producer director who did the Winnie the Pooh ones. Well, in about 10 years, DC might have a crisis on their hands. A crisis in which there will be multiple versions of our favorite heroes running around in different genres that we don't normally see them in. Well, I guess we do now because DC is publishing genre-based events all the time. Night Terror is obviously a crime genre book. The crime was that we were charged for it. In 10 years, DC might lose the rights to Batman and Superman, the very, very early versions. And we might have a horror Batman movie or a horror Superman movie.
Hentai.
I'm just gonna let that sit for a bit.
Uncomfortable.
Well, that exists. Those people aren't worried about copyright.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some
Yeah.
parasite stuff before, so yeah.
I welcome it, frankly.
Well, I don't. But we're going to talk about what fate awaits DC and how things are going to change for them, because they sort of have to, if Batman and Superman fall into public domain in 10 years. Well, they will. It's more of a question of what will happen. So the gang is all here. We got Kale,
What's up, hot dogs?
Marco, Tyler.
I'm not nearly awake for any of those intros.
And, and in Kale's case, it makes sense because it's the middle of the day for him.
Well,
Marco's just, I don't know.
But it doesn't make sense because they
There.
call them bangers where Kale is.
Yeah, well, that's true. But Marco's there eating soup for breakfast, so yeah, he's ready to go.
put in the chat, soup for breakfast, a good hearty way to start your day.
I'd argue
Okay.
cereal is soup.
All right, guys. I've heard enough about that topic before the show. I'm Sean, and I'm here to talk about what's going to happen when Batman and Superman's copyrights expire in 2035. This is something that I never thought we would ever really get to. Like, that this point would come where we'd be having this conversation. Granted, we're 10 years away from the real thing. But I have to imagine it's something that DC is thinking about. So Superman, Batman, Joker, and Wonder Woman will all enter the public domain in 2024, 5, 6, and 7, respectively. So in 2024, or rather in 2025, both Superman and Batman will officially be public domain.
Huh.
Sorry, the 2020 or 2030?
I'm sorry,
2030.
2035.
Oh, okay.
235, 36, 37.
234, 5, 6, and 7, yeah. And by 35, both Superman and Batman will be in public domain.
What's copyright rule? It's 100 years since
Yeah,
first publication.
something like that. 100 years if you don't fight it the way Disney has.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, that feels like the most immediate plan is fight it the way Disney has, is, make the case, delay, try to maintain and preserve as much as you can. What did they manage? Like an extra 15 years or something?
No, it's the creator's life plus 50.
Okay, that's what it is. Okay. Yeah, I knew it was something with the
Oh.
creator's life. Yeah.
Because Steamboat Willie is from 1928. And this is the year that copyright came up. So that's not quite 100 years.
Right.
Mm.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think Kel's right on this.
Yeah. So I want to explain first how this works because I think there's a lot of confusion surrounding copyright. And there's a good reason for that. The laws are murky. And I think anyone trying to play this game, the Steamboat Willie game, right, of taking a character brand new to public domain and making things with them, especially something that's from Disney or, Warner Discovery, you really have to know what you're doing. So if any listener out there has the intention of making a Superman comic in 2035, listen closely. What you can make is a Superman who's got a gut and can leap tall buildings in a single bound and lift really heavy stuff and beat up dudes that beat on their wives. What you can't make is a version of Superman who is married to Lois and can fly and has heat vision and all that good stuff.
Oh.
You can't make a version of Superman that has an S on their chest that stands for that's the house marker of L. You can't do anything like that. You only have the first version with no iterations. And this is the game that keeps copyright extended into perpetuity. It's not the idea that no one will ever be able to touch the character again. It's that they won't be able to touch that version of the character until that expires. So there will come a time, right, where you can have a version of Superman who has a friend named Jimmy Olsen. Because Jimmy Olsen's copyright will also expire. And the copyright on their relationship, the very first version will expire. So it just keeps coming and coming and coming. And so the game is to keep iterating on the character so that you're always a step ahead of the public domain version.
Okay.
If for some reason, right, between 1928 and 1928 and 1924, I'm sorry, excuse me, 2024, Disney never did anything with Mickey but those initial versions, the Steamboat Willie stuff. They never did anything else. That would be in public domain, and there's nothing that Disney could do about it.
But as they've iterated the version of Mickey Mouse now, it doesn't look like that. It has the red pants because maybe he didn't have color previously. Okay, gotcha. Sure. So the people are limited to that weird pajama Superman from Action Comics.
Yeah, you would only be able to use that specific one
up until as the years progress. Okay,
cool. Right. Yep.
One day I'll be able to write my own night terrors.
Does that mean that the guy at the cover of Action Comics just like is also public domain as well?
Yes.
Sick.
That's so good. Imagine he pops in like Willem screams into random comics.
It's funny. I was looking up the Walt Disney's date of death, which was 66. He died, so that's much more than 50 years. So they really milked that one. Disney did. I don't see DC really having any option there. Like if Steamboat Willie is in public domain, then everything's going to become in public domain. I don't think there's any way of fighting it anymore.
I don't think so either. I think they're fighting it in a roundabout way, like not necessarily a deliberate way. Maybe it is, but by iterating and changing on these characters, they are making it so that they will be the only people able to publish an up-to-date version of this character. But let's talk about, because look, has it meant anything? Does it mean anything ultimately to Disney that there's a Winnie the Pooh movie out there where he's a Chucky or a Jason or a Freddy type of killer? No, it hasn't. It hasn't yet. And I think that the individual who's making those movies doesn't have the budget or the resources or the clout, for example, to really make a big deal out of this whole thing. You know, he can't do enough. He doesn't have enough money or anything like that. But there are companies that do.
Mm.
There are companies that do. So I'm going to cut to the chase. What happens if in 2034, when Batman's copyright comes up, or I think it's Batman or Superman, one of those two. That comes up first. Superman comes up first. So 2034, when Superman's copyright comes up, and then 35 when Batman's comes up. What if Marvel decides to introduce them into their universes?
Huh.
I mean,
Sneaky.
that would annoy me. It's like we already did Hyperion and Nighthawk.
This is way different than that.
Is it though? If they can only use a rudimentary one, it's just like, all right,
Tyler, it's Batman and Superman in an official Marvel comic. That's
Right.
very different.
I still don't see it. It's just like, I'm assuming this is Batman with the purple gloves era, right? And then the pointy
It's
ears
the
and stuff.
original Batman
Yeah.
with a gun.
That's
You got me
right.
there. Watch out, Mark Miller. He's going to be writing the new Ultimates back then. Batman on the team. I don't. I mean, so I also think so because Human Torch becomes public domain in 34 as well, the original one. The Android version. So there could be a tit for tat going on too if they decide to do that.
It feels like there's probably an unspoken rule there. You know, like, hey, we get it. We know it's happening. It's gonna happen to us at some point. Like, I'm not gonna step in that if you're not gonna step in that.
Like a
But
standoff.
the difference though is Marvel's got Disney money.
Mm.
There's also no comparison. The only character that you could compare it to on the Marvel end is Spider-Man, and that's not coming up for a long, long time.
Right.
There's a huge difference between Android Human Torch and Batman.
Namor?
And Amin says they can't call them Superman and Batman. I'm pretty sure they can. Why not? That's their names.
Well, I think
They
because it might
can't-
be trademarked. That's the
Huh?
thing. I think it might be trademarked. The names might be trademarked.
Well, the name Steamboat Willie is trademarked. Is it not? Is the name Mickey, the name Winnie, the name? All these names are trademarked.
That's the thing.
Right.
I don't think you can use the name Mickey Mouse. You can use Steamboat Willie, but I don't think you can use the name Mickey Mouse.
But is Steamboat Willie not a trademark name at some point?
It is, but it's also not the name of the mouse, so it's not as it's Steamboat Willie is confusing.
Could they so say Marvel does this and they make a Superman and Batman comic, but for the sake of the argument and just like they make a title that's like super best friends, like, is that a legitimate dodge of the copyright?
So I've got an article from Variety that talks a lot about the rules and what you can do and what you can't do and what you can say and blah blah blah. So here's a reading from the article. Quote, a sad fact of Hollywood is that while superheroes never truly die, all copyrights do. On January 1st, Disney lost control of Steamboat Willie, and within 24 hours, 2 horror comedies starring Mickey Mouse were announced. The DC characters are their next major expirations looming on the horizon. Superman and Lois Lane will enter the public domain in 2034, followed by Batman in 2035 and Joker in 2036 and Wonder Woman in 2037. And then they speak with Chris Sims, who is a comic book writer, and they claim he's a Batman expert. All right, so am I guess.
No, he does a podcast. He's pretty good. Yeah.
Batmanologist.
So do I. Quote, there's going to be 100 of them. They're going to have them ready to go. Movie producers will also be able to make their own versions, much as they already do with public domain characters like Dracula and Robin Hood. Though in the beginning, they will have to stick to their original versions of the characters. Quote, you get Batman, but you don't get Robin. You get Superman, but you don't get Kryptonite. So there's nothing in this article, nothing that I've read that implies they cannot use the names. I'm pretty confident that they can. What would you even have if you didn't have the name? The name is a part of the copyright.
Well, it's part of the character. Like when people use Santa Claus, like his name is Santa Claus. Like you
Right.
can't change that, but you can't use the Coca-Cola Santa Claus.
Oh, right.
Exactly. Yeah, Harris says can't use Mickey, but can use Steamboat Willie. Batman and Superman names can be used as long as it's those versions of the characters. Where it
Yeah.
gets tricky is with the things that are trademarked now. Like, for example, you could have Superman. He could wear the logo. He could jump. He could fight, but you can't have a Superman comic book that calls him, for example, the Man of Steel. You cannot use that title. You cannot call Batman the Caped Crusader.
My feeling with this is like, especially with the whole Steamboat Willie thing, because it's been what, a month already, and it's been a month. And what's really come of it outside of a video game and a slasher movie, which just seems to be the standard for whenever things hit public domain.
Tyler, it's a month.
I know, but like I feel like because it's a little murky and because it's Disney, nobody still wants to test it.
But I also think what are you gonna do with Steamboat Willie?
Right.
The potential for Superman and Batman is a lot bigger, as we've already seen with stuff that, is blatant copyright infringement, but, skirts it, like a Brightburn or whatever.
Right.
Fair,
This is this is an absolutely direct form of that. And there will be people who use these characters. Like Steamboat Willie is not as popular as Batman or Superman. Mickey Mouse obviously is, but people don't care as much about Steamboat Willie. I guarantee you that there will be versions of Batman and Superman floating around that are done by people who are a lot more high profile than this dude that's making these Mickey Mouse iterations. Guarantee it. For example, what will prevent, and the article uses a similar example, and it's pretty funny. What will prevent Zack Snyder, for example, from just deciding he's going to make another Batman Superman movie?
Hell yeah.
Studios, after seeing the buzz after Rebel Moon.
Yikes.
Through Netflix, he makes a Batman Superman movie in 2035, 2036.
Zack Snyder presents.
Nothing can stop that.
Sure, theoretically, but like my gut just tells me like a big studio like a Netflix or a Disney wouldn't want to do something that could then be scrutinized and lead to legal issues.
And that's fine, but he
Yeah.
still could.
Could, yeah, there's a big could here. Yeah.
And at that point, like, he could probably finance it himself.
Yeah, absolutely.
If only he had a legion of supporters that could help crowdfund something like that.
I'm thinking, I'd have to wait. Damn, I have to wait a while before I get the version of Swamp Thing I want.
Oh my God.
Got some stories, baby.
Yeah, even like Stan Lee, like only recently passed, so that's not happening anytime soon.
Oh yeah, we're keeping him alive for a while.
I think while it would be incredibly interesting for Marvel to have access to Batman and Superman, it's not as compelling to me. It's not. I think it sort of breaks the barrier that allows this whole thing to feel right. Like, I don't know how I feel seeing any version of Batman and Superman, like in an ongoing capacity, being a part of Marvel Comics. I don't know if I can get with that.
It feels like an unspoken rule it's being broken.
Right, yeah.
Like the most I can see is like maybe a Deadpool or Howard the Duck book brings it in for a panel and then the character is surprised that they're there as well. But it would feel wrong to me to have like a Marvel presents Batman. I mean, honestly, I see WB selling off their characters first, honestly, before that ever happens. Before, Disney decides to even just poke the bear a bit.
Like the possibility being there is really interesting because I'm wondering what kind of, like, who would you pair him against? Like, who's the first fight? Who's the first superhero crossover? Like Batman with a gun versus like Daredevil or something.
Daredevil.
You know,
I
That's
was gonna
what
say
I'm
Monkey
looking
with the
for.
gun from Hellboy.
Really, you'd have to put them against each other, right? Because like, who would they fight?
but that's what I'm saying. You have the entirety of the Marvel universe there. Like, put him against like
Yeah.
he'd get beat up by Spider-Man easy.
Or even put Hyperion up against a version 1 Superman. Hyperion can actually fly.
That's right. Not just leap.
And that's another question: is where do these characters go?
That's the
Mm.
interesting component, because if, let's say, Marvel decided that they did want their versions of Batman and Superman, they could actually take those characters in completely different directions that we've never seen before. What happens to Batman if he's still Bruce Wayne, because he's that's the origin? If you get all of that, but you can't get anything after until, maybe you get the Joker a year later, whatever, however that goes. What is the trajectory of Batman at that point? In a way, that's actually sort of fascinating. They would have to do something outside of the box. They'd be more forced to do that than DC would.
Hmm.
I mean, personally, I would use it as a chance to have those characters have your like Squadron Supreme go over on those characters and job them out, so that you can then do your Squadron Supreme movie.
I wonder if there's like those golden age characters you can kind of bring back, if they have from like the timely eras, and try to see if they can mix and match certain things, because aesthetically that makes sense, and you could, I don't know, I'd be interested in seeing like a history of Marvel intertwined with those two characters, like a Cain and Abel kind of situation, and you're going through the Marvel history of whatever it might be, the House of Mouse, the House of, you know what I mean, like
The House of Mystery,
yeah,
and
sorry, yeah,
secrets or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, and they're telling these stories in the Marvel universe from that perspective, so they're not being used in that way, but they're there because of the history and what they signify to the larger comics.
See, for me, you make it a period piece. You make it
Pulp.
pulp. Yeah, a noir, Batman comic, or I'd even do Superman that way. Have him
Oh,
take off
really?
his mask and he's a real alien, like, because like you have to do something else to make the character grow. Like, what's the thing Superman isn't? Something else. He's not a green skinned guy, with 14 legs. He's humanoid. Well, let's make him a green skinned guy with 14 legs that can turn back into a human.
But I bet you can make the argument. Well, hold on, you're going down the alien route. That's something
That's a
over
great
here.
point.
But
Like,
Superman
well,
is an alien.
Yeah, that's
That's
part of
what I mean.
that's part of the origin.
right? Oh, is it?
Of course.
Yeah.
Wait, even in the Action Comics?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay,
It's part of his origin.
I thought that came later. Same way like Batman stuff came later. Certain things.
His origin was always there. Yeah.
Hmm. That's funny.
I think that
Krypton was 14-legged green man.
I think the issue though becomes because trademarks will still exist, and that protects branding. So like logos and stuff like that. So can they even use the Bat logo properly if that is
No.
part of? No, because even though he's wearing it in the first appearance, he wears a Bat emblem. Can you even use that because it's trademarked?
You can't use it. You can't use it in a way that is marketing
Yeah.
that. So you wouldn't be able to have a comic book called Batman, and in the titling is Batman in all caps, and behind it is the bat symbol. He could be on the cover wearing the bat symbol as Batman, but you couldn't call it that. Or you
Yeah, so-
couldn't use the logo on the cover like they normally would.
So from just like a branding point of view, it just seems like too much in the muck.
But again, though, that's the Coca-Cola example. Coca-Cola has a version of Santa Claus that they use, but if you want to do something with Santa Claus because he's in the public domain, it just can't be
That version.
Coca-Cola's.
Yeah.
So
And that's
putting
be-
that
Yeah, go ahead.
so putting that branding, the Santa Claus branding on it is fine, but you can't say, you can't match the Coca-Cola font or whatever.
Dan says it's why Tarzan is in public domain, but you can't call a book Tarzan.
Mm.
And I think the movie only exists at Disney is because they bought the rights to it for that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those situations where we don't know exactly how this would play out at all, but it's sort of fun to think about. Um, you know, Batman and Superman are iconic characters, just like Dracula and Thor and, Santa Claus and Kale's example. All these different characters that exist in fiction are iconic, and we've seen how they've fallen into public domain, and in some cases that has led to some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
We've seen some pretty cool stuff come out of that. And right now with Mickey and Winnie, we've only seen the most base level, garbage.
Haven't gotten to the cool stuff yet.
Exactly. There hasn't been any time. It's been a month, in the case of Steamboat Willie. But someone might do something that's actually pretty cool and worth the fact that now this is possible. For all the crappy versions of this stuff that we're inevitably going to get, someone might do something worthwhile because there is a chance for art. And the positive end of this, I guess, is the fact that you do have the ability to take something like this out of the hands of a corporate entity, make it public, and do something really artful with it. It could happen.
Mm.
There are just some things that DC will never do because of corporate, because of whatever the reason is. And it doesn't have to be, I'm not talking about edgy shit. I'm talking about just whatever, anything, any idea, that DC will never allow, that now becomes possible.
Yeah.
Batman's taking his mask off. It's Chad Paul! No!
That guy needs to have a gun, though, I think.
I'm pretty sure he does.
Yeah,
That's
to
why he's
protect
Batman.
himself against Spider-Man. You're
Yeah,
damn right.
That's right.
Whoa, Sage, good to see you in the chat. Welcome. Sorry about the foot. That's awful, but
What?
good to see you. It's been a while.
Tyler.
He said he broke his foot.
Oh,
Yeah, this
okay.
one's broken. You're not going to be
Okay,
interested.
all right, okay.
Amin says, what would the pals do if they wanted to have both of them in the pals verse?
They're already there. I don't understand.
What would I do? What I would do is I would give a listener the origin of Batman and Superman, and they would be Batman and Superman, and then we would materially alter them through the Palsverse, so they become the Palsverse version of Batman and Superman.
So my question is, like, say you wanted to, so you have Superman, and you want to be like, all right, what if I want the Superman to be black now? That's how I'm going to iterate on it and change it a bit. Can you? Because they already have
I don't think so.
the other
Yeah,
one.
I don't think so.
Well,
President
that's not
Superman?
Clark Kent, though.
Sure, it's a different character.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah,
Different
I'm sure you
character,
can,
so
because it's not
Okay.
the same person.
You can
just
probably
have
do
to
that
race
now.
change Clark Kent.
Right.
Huh. So is this why we have John Kent now? So that John Kent can exist in perpetuity for longer? Until whoever created John Kent, I think it was
Hmm.
Amasi?
possibly, or the other guy who wrote Death of Superman.
Whoa. Wait. Is this to prevent knowing that they're looking ahead 10 years, and so they're trying to introduce a new kind of Trinity into comics so that they can protect the IP and ensure that the Trinity continues on, but with these different characters?
You're talking about 5G. Like I remember talking about DC, it's always 5G talk we get to.
But
there could be something to that.
you know what I mean? This new era. Let's get them in on the ground floor 10 years in advance, so that way a generation of comics readers understand that these guys are that character, that mantle, and become the 10 years later they're the forefront. It's Trinity, it's John Kent, and it's Damian.
Whose creators are all still alive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My tinfoil hat is
Yeah.
now off. Thank you very
And
much.
that's why Marvel doesn't need to do it, because they have at least another 50, 45 years till most of their characters are even in the public domain at that point. And the world's going to be gone by then anyway. So,
So there was a rumor around the time that the Authority was, I guess, announced to be involved with Superman Legacy and Beyond, that it was being done in order to introduce these characters who are some members of the what's it called, of the Authority. Apollo and Midnighter are similar to Batman and Superman. The idea was that they were being introduced in order to establish new major powerful superheroes, because Superman and Batman were going into public domain. James Gunn has refuted those rumors, even though it was all over the place last year. I don't think that DC really has to make any moves with any urgency regarding this issue, because of the fact that naturally, creatively, over time, people will come up with ideas that keep these characters in DC's control. No matter what happens, you're never going to catch up to the current version of Superman.
Sure.
From a legal standpoint, you never will do that. They will always be able to publish Clark Kent Superman stories, current ones.
And that's also why they update the origin so often and reset and reboot and etc.
Imagine how minute of a difference those actually. I like the one that was pre-crisis that didn't have this and like actually had the long hair, and it's like, whoa, easy, okay, we get it.
yeah, you can't use the Bendis era origin that has Rogozal based into it.
Yeah, right.
Brother, that's how some of these people sound. Like, you're making a joke, but that's how some of these people sound.
It's true. Rami says, good point, but what will the fans and readers think about that? Especially that only the original designs and concepts will enter the public domain. That's a good question. And I think that that's territory that we've never really been in to this degree. Again, I made references earlier to several characters who have fallen into the public domain, and that's all been well and good. I think, though, that public consciousness and the way we think about, these characters is just different than it was before. Do I believe that people will reject different versions of Batman and Superman? Yeah, if they're bad. But I don't think that the public knows or cares that much about who is allowed to publish these things in the first place. For example, I've said this before. I still have people in my life who aren't clear on the fact that, like, Batman is not a Marvel character, or what studios allowed to publish Spider-Man movies. I've had multiple people tell me that Venom is a Marvel movie, and I have to explain that it's not. The public is not all the way aware of all this. So if there's a Batman movie that's really good, but if it doesn't feature, it only features that specific version of Batman, I don't think people will really know or care any different.
Well, it's not their job.
Yeah. If they like it, if it's good.
Yeah. The people that have to worry about it are lawyers and companies. Like,
yeah, let them talk.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a question for when we end this segment.
Okay. Promiscuous Time Traveler says, I have more excitement for the independent comic scene to have fan fictions become better than the actual stories in reality.
Oh, yeah, dude. I see that. There's you know what? There's some comics that have been published that never got an ending. Frankly, because the creators never came back. I would love for people to come like, yo, finish this fucking book.
That's what John Byrne was doing with X-Men on like Tumblr, I think. He was
there you go.
doing more X-Men.
the Thor guy, Walt Simonson,
Yeah.
is doing that with his Thor
Ragnarok.
at Ragnarok at, what is it, IDW or whatever.
It's real
Yeah.
good.
It's good
It
too.
is good.
Yeah.
I mean, his Thor's good. Yeah.
Amin says, a lonely Batman who can kill in, let's say, New York or any other major city. I have a feeling people might like that, considering they, quote, like Homelander. Well,
still kills bad people.
Are you about to defend Homelander right now?
No. Homelander is
okay.
a piece of shit. I'm saying that version of Batman kills bad people.
I think a lot of people in the public feel like Batman's no kill rule is stupid. And I think there are a lot of people who would love to see that. If you wait a couple of years and you get the Joker, you can make you can craft an origin, a new sort of origin involving Batman and the Joker, and you can do something really compelling there. You can make a 3-movie trilogy involving Batman and the Joker, where in the last movie Batman kills the Joker. People would love to see that. And it can be artful, it can be great, it can be compelling, but it can be materially different.
Yeah.
We've seen it. What's the difference between Thor from Marvel and the Thor in God of War, Ragnarok? You know, they're very, very, very different. They're completely different. There's nothing similar about them except that they're both gods and they both have hammers with lightning. That's it.
Dan makes a really good point in the chat about the way that these companies will defend those trademarks. Like, you will ultimately be able to beat them, but the tactic there to dissuade people from, even big companies, from making things is to sue, to continually be in court in order to not prevent but to slow down, to make these things that much more expensive. Like, yeah, you have a $300 million budget to create something, but you also probably have like $30 million in fees and all this kind of stuff and associated to that, to be like, and Tyler says exactly what it is. Is it worth the squeeze at that point?
But where's that energy been for Steamboat Willie with Disney, the most powerful company in the world, borderline?
I mean, maybe it's upcoming. Maybe for like when a big company does it, but not for, your little YouTuber that's going to be making a Flash animation or something.
Yeah, that's kind of where I list. That's why we have just shitty D horror movies for Steamboat Willie.
Yeah.
Like, it's
I
not
also
worth
think-
even fighting that.
I also think if DC and Warner Brothers are going to do that, they better get their asses out of that fancy LA building.
Bro, it's a line item. That's been over for the past like 5 years.
Thor existed before Marvel, yeah, Dan, of course, but that's not the point. The point is that there are multiple iterations of Thor that exist. That's what I was driving at. It's also happening with Pal World and Pokemon right now, even though that's not PD, public domain, for a long time. Well, that's even worse. That makes the Pal World thing even worse, because if it really is copyright infringement, if it is trademark infringement, then they're going to get sued to death. But that hasn't happened.
Well, people have already put assets in Power World to make it exactly Pokemon. So,
And they got screwed out. That dude got
shut down.
Nintendo got that guy.
Yeah. I think it's only a matter of time.
What did he tweet? He's like, Nintendo, they've come for me, and then deleted his account.
But that's it. I think that Pal World is a great example. To my point, Nintendo is one of the most powerful entertainment companies in the world. Pokemon's the most successful IP on Earth. And Pal World is a game that very, very, very clearly, to my eye at least, is using assets from Pokemon games, limited assets from Pokemon games, and direct, heavy, heavy, heavy inspiration. And yet, outside of what happened to the fool who put Ash Ketchum in the video game, nothing has befallen the creators of Pal World. Will it? Who knows? But they have been able to put the game out. They've been able to profit to the tune of multiple millions of dollars. 8 million people have purchased this game. That's a crazy number.
But I feel like that becomes different because Pokemon's not in the public domain there. Like that I feel is a separate issue, where like if it was, and then you made an asset for the fat Pikachu, like you can't touch that necessarily. But if you're gonna make a mod, for sure. But if if you're being derivative of the original, I'm thinking a la like a Digimon or something. Like it's hard to be able to make the argument that that's markedly different or not markedly the same.
They're not using Pokemon branding as would be like somebody made a Batman book. That book could be called a Batman book. Like, they're called pals. There's nothing in it that is directly challenging anything that Pokemon has. It's very
Are you
similar.
sure?
So there
Are
was
you
a guy
sure?
that
Have
took
you?
assets and lined them up together from, I think it was Scarlet Violet, and lined it up with Palworld. And he's like, oh, these are almost 1-to-1. It is impossible for that to happen. Then he came back and admitted, well, I edited the models a bit. So that guy's not really trustworthy. They are very similar. Like there's that one, it's like a fat Meowth almost in the game, and the face almost looks exactly like the newer Meowth from Scarlet Violet, where it's like, okay, it's really similar, but so are the knockoff Pokemon action figures in my bodega. How do you fight that is the question. It's a tricky thing to fight because it's a tricky thing to prove.
I think if Pal World can exist and not get destroyed, then I'm pretty confident that that Batman and Superman will be just fine in the public domain.
Yeah,
I
100%.
don't think that there will be a fight that they can put up that can prevent people from doing that. And I don't think that they can do it. They can put up a fight that will deter people from making these things. I think that the lawyers are real smart. I think creatives are real smart. They know how to get around that stuff, and they will.
Yeah.
They will.
My only issue is like it's just the branding of it all. Like the trademark and branding, I think, is where people might have issues.
No one who's putting millions of dollars into a Batman project is going to get tripped up on branding. That they're going to do it just fine. These
And
people
you're
are.
gonna,
Go ahead.
that millions of dollars is gonna have a budget for lawyers for that.
Yeah.
For that reason.
Absolutely no question in my mind at all. The other factor here is that 10 years from now, technology will also be very different. AI, the problem that we think we have now is nothing compared to what we're going to be dealing with in 10 years. You could theoretically be able to type in to whatever the new app is, make me a Batman movie. And the app will probably be trained to know that it can't use the copywritten assets. And so it makes you a Batman movie or a Batman comic book or whatever it is that is perfectly within legal bounds and also perfectly consumable. Pumped out ad nauseum.
Which is funny that you talk about Pal World, because that's another thing with the Pal World where the creator used generative AI that took Pokemon models to create new characters, which then, if you don't actually use those new characters, but then use those new characters as a basis for a new character, it's technically a new thing, legally. So it's like a weird AI coming in and kind of throwing a real wrench into the gears here.
Interesting. Huh.
Rami
World's pretty
says,
fun,
"Would
though, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead."
I was going to say Pal World's a pretty fun game. I think people should check it out. It's pretty interesting.
I'm not going to play a game that came from AI on any level.
Also not interested in killing my friends.
Yeah.
So
That too. Yeah, it's
it
weird.
did,
I think
didn't
it's a
come
very
from AI,
bizarre game.
allegedly. So,
most of my friends anyway.
Would people be able to create new origins of the characters in public domain? I think that's the most interesting part, is being able to take these characters and transform them. I don't really care that much for like Batman as a whole to be in public domain, because people are just gonna do the exact same thing that DC has done, maybe better, maybe worse, mostly
Probably
worse. Yeah,
Yeah.
mostly worse. And I don't want these characters to be tarnished like that. I'm not into it. I think the Mickey Mouse, Winnie the Pooh, the movies, the horror movies, I think that's garbage. And it sucks that exists. And I don't feel bad for Disney necessarily, but I understand why it would be concerning that these characters that are appealing to children, that are for kids, have versions of them that are killing and cutting people up. I don't love that. But from a creative standpoint, am I intrigued by the idea that someone who has a vision and a plan and a compelling thought could take the very first version of Batman and transform that and take that somewhere? Yeah. Why not?
Batman transformed.
Do you run the risk though that like say you change something about him and it becomes a little too close to a small minute detail that is still within DC? Like say you want to make it a Lovecraftian Batman story. And then DC could be like, well, no, the Christian Ward book just came out. There's some Lovecraftian elements in there, even though it's only 1% of your story, or 1% of our story, but it's mostly yours. Can you use that?
Yeah, you can shut that down. You can make a
Yeah.
good argument for that probably. Yeah,
So
that's why you have to be very careful with how you use it.
And because Batman's been reiterated so much by DC already, like what can you really do that's safe?
Mm.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem worth it.
I don't know. I don't think I really don't think I think there are endless I mean, there are endless ideas, endless possibilities. I really don't feel like if you're limited in scope to that degree, I think you can make art out of that. That won't be touchable. And again, I just really don't think like there's a murderous Steamboat Willie movie and Disney does not care. They can't stop it.
Can I make a Comics Pal Steamboat Willie merch that I could put up on the shop?
Yes, but if you
Willie.
get us sued, you're taking the rap for it.
And that's not how that works. So I will leave the
Yeah,
company.
we are all on that LLC. Actually, Kelly, I think you'd be safe, but you didn't need to sign the thing yet. So
Then yes, absolutely.
We'll get the cease and desist first.
And Harris makes a good point. Lovecraft is full public domain.
Oh, that's a good point.
I'm not saying like Lovecraft entirely. I'm just saying Lovecraftian elements that are then in they're just old god elements, which then that gets fuzzy too, you know.
Yeah. Hendrik Perry. What if Batman actually had good psych hospitals in universe and rehabilitation worked more than like 3 times? Man, solving systemic problems out here, boy.
Promiscuous Time Traveler brings up a good point about fan fiction. Like this is where I see that going. If anything, is we'll get more fan films and stuff. I just don't see big companies risking it because I feel like when it's a fan stuff that's small enough, it becomes out of the radar of the big companies like WB and Disney, where it's like, all right, we'll just let that exist. That's fine. That's why the slasher Winnie the Pooh exists. But if like one of the other big companies decided to do it, it just seems like a standoff that neither company wants to deal with.
But there's a huge, massive difference between that slasher movie and a profiting off these fan fictions. That's completely different.
That's the thing.
You can right now put out a movie with Steamboat Willie in it and make money. That is a huge thing.
Well, you can do that with fan films too.
Not legally. What are you talking about?
Can't you do it like on YouTube? Couldn't you get monetized for it?
I think you have to be. You can't monetize is the thing. Like that's why they allow people. That's why they even like allow artists to draw these things because technically you're not allowed to get paid for those things.
Well,
yeah,
I'm saying they can monetize going forward. That's why I would see a bigger influx of it.
Oh, moving forward, that would be the difference.
Yeah.
Is you can start to monetize on the Steamboat Willie thing, where previously you could make it for sure. Maybe you get into problem, but you can't make money off it because that's the actual thing that's going to get you screwed over.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
this is a murky Spider-Man Lotus made money, but not directly. You cannot directly profit off of making that. And by the way, that's a small enough production that maybe Marvel isn't even aware, Disney's not aware that it exists. But if they were, I'm pretty sure ththose people would be getting the pantsuit off them because you can't make money off that.
Especially after what the guy who created that.
Yeah, let's not get into it.
Yeah, I know.
They couldn't sell the movie, but everything else was free game. Yeah. They also can't sell merchandise that says Spider-Man Lotus on it with the Spider-Man logo on it. They're very, very limited in what they are allowed to do with that. Whereas, like I keep having to say, you can make a Steamboat Willie movie right now and make all the money in the world you want, and no one can stop you. We got Injustice Superman, though. Most people saw Superman killing Shazam right on the spot due to the game. Sure. That's still DC owned and operated.
Right. Yep.
And it's an offshoot. It's a, it's a different thing.
Yeah. And you say
It's
most
theirs.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made the decision to publish that stuff, to make that, so they can do whatever they want.
YouTube only really profitable if you have consistent content, though. YouTube pay is a little out of my territory, but making low budget fan films doesn't sound viable for a YouTube career. It's not.
Even making consistent content isn't viable for a YouTube career.
Yeah, that wouldn't get it done by any means.
Freddie Wong.
Mr. Beast could make YouTube videos and that are fan fiction and, you know, based on what you guys are saying, and make money off of them. Mr. Beast would get sued to death if he did something like that right now. If he decided to make a Nightwing movie starring him as Nightwing and release it on YouTube, he would get sued to death. 2035, he can make himself Batman if he wants to.
He'll be president by then at this rate. So
yeah, Batman can go and have a Mr. Beast burger.
Those are separate now.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, there was a whole thing with Mr. Beast burger. Yeah, Mr. Beast is separated from Mr. Beast burger.
Yikes!
Copyright.
So yeah, I mean, we'll see in 10 years what happens. If we're still here doing this in 10 years, then we'll do an episode on it. We'll do an episode that day. The very day.
What episode?
Live update.
Yeah, right.
The game will have to be make your own Batman story.
Get it funded the quickest.
Yeah, that's right.
We won't even need funding. We'll just use AI for it.
There you go.
Oh,
And at that point, Marco will probably be AI himself. So
I'm gonna be in a fucking computer, and the screen, everything behind me will just be a facsimile.
When is Jean Grey entering public domain? Listen, dude, I don't want to see that, actually.
Ooh, what do you want to see? What is a character that you would like to see enter the public domain so that you could have people iterate on? And I want to start with the Spirit. I want to write a Spirit story so fucking bad.
So write it.
I've started, but I want to be able to like publish.
I actually looked that up, Marco. I think you got a couple. I think Eisner died in 2011. So
yeah. So I've quite a bit of time.
Yeah, to what Kale just said, I don't think this way, because if I really wanted to do that, I would just do it. The question in this case is really profit. Anyone could right now make a Batman story. You just wouldn't be able. Well, you wouldn't be able to profit off of it. Certainly, you wouldn't be able to. You could put it on YouTube if you wanted, or fanfiction.net.
Yeah,
but
fanfic.net.
It all just seems.
Yeah.
I know. I'm aware.
Like personally, for me, it just seems real derivative entirely. It's just like, all right, just make something new.
Yeah.
The only benefits to using it is for profit, I think.
And that's the thing about that film, like Brightburn. You know, it vaguely interests me that they are doing Superman but horror, you know, and they call it something different. But it's a concept we've seen a million times. And that's still what this whole conversation is to me. It's just like, well, this stuff happens already. It's just a different name, you know? So I don't know. To me, it's not, it's all derivative, and I don't think that way. So I don't really care who goes public domain and who doesn't.
Yeah, like ultimately, I'm pretty happy with, like, DC's not ruining Batman and Superman. The only reason why I would want someone else to have the right to publish those characters is if I thought that they were just too far gone. But I don't. I'm happy with it. And even if I thought Batman sucked right now, 10 years from now, I'm sure that DC will right the ship. I just don't really think like that. But I am intrigued by the prompt in this case, the specific idea of Batman and Superman hitting public domain and what kind of art could come out of that if profit were possible. You know, I don't know, Joe, amazing artist, right? That we love so much, is never going to make a Batman movie, because as great of a talent as he might be, he can't, because he can't make money. But if he could, what would he do? That's what I'm interested in this specific case.
This reminds me of like those AI generated images. It's like, what if Wes Anderson did the X-Men?
Yeah.
All right. We've got a lot more show to do. Public domain is coming for DC, but they've got 10 years to figure that out.
I think for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Soon enough, I'll be in the public domain.
I'll be dead.
No,
I'll be in
Yeah,
the cloud.
I don't think that's that far off.
Give me 10 years.
I think
I'm
you'll be digitized before the show is over.
Gladly, dude.
Which is hilarious that Swamp Thing is his favorite character.
We've got a lot more show to do. We've got an announcement. We've got a couple of announcements to make that we're really excited about. Before we make those announcements, I want to tell you guys about patreon.com/thecomicspals, where we are so happy and excited to have you join us. If you want to support what we do here, if you enjoy this podcast, if you enjoy our various shows, this is the most direct way to show your support and your love for what we do here. There's a very exclusive show over there on that side of things. You get a newsletter every single week from one of us, and amongst other things, you get to join the Palsverse. So I want to give a special shout out to the best pals in the universe: Thunderstruck Rebecca Alejandro, the Hound of Justice Atomic Hound, Starcross Catherine Stars, and Relentless Ryan Murphy. And I want to also thank the Night Stalker, Harris Stajinsky, Brian Demolisher Del Pozo, Kefis the Incorruptible, Momentum Mike Elliott, Dan the Truth Trudeau, Joel Justice, Jalen the Sanguine Sorcerer, Marley Manastorm, Slow Flow Dameron, Amin Almighty Perez, Pete the Dreamweaver Collins, and Christian Uncaged Harriet. Thank you all so much. You guys rock. On the subject of Patreon, we have our Hangout. Our Patreon Hangout is actually tomorrow if you're watching this live or listening same day. So on January 28th at 1 p.m., we're going to be hanging out with our patrons and just shooting the breeze, play a game, talk comics. Maybe we can talk about what's on each other's stacks, that kind of fun thing.
Ooh, that's going to be good. Good deep dive.
Yeah. We come here and chat with each other every week. We don't get to voice chat with you all, and it's a lot of fun. Never had a bad time doing it. So yeah, that should be a good time. I also want to shout out and thank the channel members. Thank you guys for being a part of our YouTube channel membership, which you can join on youtube.com/thecomicspals. You click the join button anywhere you see it. Wow, Mike Elliott in the chat. That is a first. I have
We made
never
it.
seen that. Wow, that's awesome. Thank you for joining live. It's cool, man. Channel members, we have an announcement for you, and prospective channel members. So what we want to do is once a month, we are announcing that we will be putting out a mailbag segment for you guys. So it'll be channel member exclusive in the sense that it will live behind the channel membership, the video that we put out. We want questions from all of you. Whether you're a channel member or not, you leave questions for us. We're going to answer them in a mailbag segment that we'll do once a month and put up for our channel members to hear. Whatever you want to hear us talk about. If there's a news item we didn't get to, if there is something that you've been thinking about that you want to hear us comment on, question for the pals, whatever it is, we will respond to it in that video.
Does it have to be comics related, Sean?
Whatever you want.
Anything about Marco's love life. Like,
Oh,
boy.
guys, I have updates.
Oh, no. We'll palling around. Coming up soon.
So, yeah, channel members, hit us with your questions. Anyone, hit us with your questions and look out for that video. We'll be doing our first one soon when we have a good amount of questions to actually respond to. We will definitely do that. Yes, an official mail call.
Yes, go. What's our column letters column name?
oh, interesting.
I don't know.
Leave it,
Maybe
leave it up to the
we'll
listeners.
yeah,
Postage
we'll put it up to the
pals?
listeners.
Pals
What?
postage. Never mind. I'm just
Oh,
workshopping stuff out loud.
yeah.
We have a goal this year to get to 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. Not even this year, really first quarter. First quarter. So if you are a fan of our show, if you love what we do here, and you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube, hit that subscription button. It's free to do, costs you absolutely nothing, helps us out a ton. If you are a podcast listener of ours, you've got a YouTube account, just go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Pen Pals.
That's
Ooh,
so good.
That's
Oh,
Atomic Hound
how did we
knocking
miss
it
that?
out of the park. Hitting a
Yo,
home run in his first at bat.
that was good.
Man,
Wow.
it's right there.
Pen pal. What's a pen? Is that the thing you type with?
Your finger.
Wow. Wow. That's good.
Word uncaged. Man said Q1, baby.
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. We can do it with the power of friendship.
Ooh, got some love from Italy from Antonio Peranti.
What's going on?
Hey, love you right back, all the way from New York. See how this love thing works? You can love globally. It's beautiful. We had a guy from Australia on Pals
Pals
Pulls
Pulls.
this week.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like 90 Day Fiance in a way. That's cinematic universe.
Oh my god. Speaking of Pals Pulls, the listener pick poll is up right now. Make sure that you get your vote in, of course, at the Comics Pals, youtube.com/the Comics Pals under the community tab. This week we have Avengers Twilight, which is killing the vote, killing the poll right now, and has been since the start of it, sitting pretty at 48%. That percentage has gone up.
Wow. And I voted for other shit.
So did I.
Damn.
So did I.
Alan Scott, Green Lantern, with 16% of the vote. Duke #2 with 26%, and Wolverine 42 with only 9% of the vote.
Not
You guys
getting
didn't
love.
like Sabretooth War Part 1?
Oh, that's right. That's what Wolverine is. I knew it was something. Dang it. You have to read that by myself? Come on,
I'm gonna be
guys.
reading it.
I'll read it.
Let's not
Let's
negate
put it on
poll,
the
guys.
show then.
We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. So yeah, make sure you get your votes in. Don't leave us. But whenever we're done with the show, or if you want to open another tab, make sure you get your votes in. If you can hear me, you should vote. You should vote in the poll.
Yeah. For all my people who like the Energon universe too, we need Duke to win. Where my Dukies at?
Duke 1 was good. Duke 1 was good. Man, it's cool to see Mike Elliott in the chat. That's just, one of those names, a long-time listener you never see right there in the flesh.
And Mike Elliott says he's pulling all the books on the poll, so whatever he picks will win, I guess.
I'm pulling them all too. Are we all into all these books?
Eventually. I don't know
Yeah,
if I'd
I
read them
think
that
so.
week, but
Yeah.
there are books I'm interested in, yeah.
That's a good poll.
Good week, yeah.
Book club. Our next book club is 3 days away, January 30th. We will be doing the Dark Knight Returns book club live right here on youtube.com/the Comics Pals. Bring your thoughts, bring your questions, come well read, or come to listen to a good chat and learn. Either way, I think you're going to learn. I've got a lot planned for this conversation.
Good art stuff.
Yeah, this is one of the greats that we somehow haven't tackled yet, but we will this Tuesday at 6 p.m.
Damn, I read Holy Terror instead. Ugh,
No.
Yeah,
Oh, I have that.
mixed up. I bet you do.
I don't know about that admission. Oh man. And associated with the Dark Knight Returns book club, we are going to be doing a giveaway on that very episode of a copy of The Dark Knight Returns. We will be giving away a copy of The Dark Knight Returns to a listener who is with us live during the book club, asks a question or leaves a comment that is related to the book, and can reach out to me on our Discord server. So you have to reach out to me on Discord to tell me you won. And once you do that, we'll take your info and we'll send you a copy of The Dark Knight Returns. That's simple.
So it's
Gladly.
not people just reaching out to you on Discord.
No.
Don't flood Sean's DMs in the Discord.
No, you have to have been at the live. You have to have won the poll, won the
Raffle.
the raffle giveaway.
Yeah.
And then be able to reach out to me to say, hey, I won.
Right.
That's it. Really, all the third thing means is you have to be a part of our Discord.
Question wins.
That's how we get your information to where to send it to. So like you kind of need to reach out to Discord if you win.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so stick around for that so you make sure you know if you won or not.
The announcement, our big announcement, because that is an announcement. That wasn't the big announcement. The big announcement is that on February 10th, we will be joined by first-time guest to this show, none other than Philip Kennedy Johnson.
Massive. Absolutely massive. Super.
Boom. Super
Whoa.
massive.
I would say it's a hulking achievement to have him on the show.
PKJ pun.
The AI broke there.
Yeah, that's right. Couldn't generate.
We're going to be talking Superman. We're going to be talking Hulk.
God.
A lot of stuff. We got a lot to say to Philip Kennedy Johnson. I am going to make sure that I have read War World before he joins us. I know it's going to be that's a heavy duty task, but I'm going to do that because I want to make sure that, we can have that conversation.
I'm excited for you to read it. It's excellent.
Oh, you've read it. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I want to talk about Last God. That book was good as hell.
Oh man, I couldn't get into it. I might need to do a proper reread of it.
Yeah.
So, as you guys think of your questions, listeners, make sure you send them our way. You know the routine. We always try when we have a guest on the show to make sure that we get your questions into them. And this won't be any different. So send your questions, and we will certainly be asking them of Philip Kennedy Johnson. Discord members, patrons, channel members have priority on getting their questions asked and answered. So, do those appropriate things by that time. We've got a lot more show to do. Let's make sure we are hitting that like button. Let's get those likes up. We're at 21. I think we can do. I feel like between now and the end of the show, we can hit 30.
Let's go.
I want us to. I want us to do the new thing we have planned.
We have a new thing planned. We have a new game. We've got a new
Structure.
System. Yeah, we've got a new
mechanic.
system.
Yeah.
That should be a lot of fun for you guys. So if you're looking forward to that, let's hit the like button and keep things going. Super chats are open. Super stickers are open. Channel memberships are open. Let's get into the news. And unfortunately, we have to start with something that's not so great because Everyone Comics, which is a store that we love, Everyone Comics, X Collectibles, and of course we know about Anyone Comics. Everyone Comics was broken into.
No.
Yep. So this is the Long Island City store. Queens is the Anyone Comics location. And they were broken into. Demetrios posted about it on Tuesday night. It was broken into on Tuesday night. At 3 a.m. Demetrios, who's the owner of the store and someone who we've known for years, made a post and said, and there's a GoFundMe, by the way. We'll share the details. But this is what Demetrios said. Quote, "The damage was costly and our business was disrupted at the worst time. I started Everyone Comics X Collectibles with my longtime coworker and friend, Alex Ray, in 2022. We felt we could create an environment that would help nurture and grow our favorite hobby for others and help people meet with similar interests, all while selling our favorite books. While the real estate of LIC has proven to be a challenge for us with the constant development and displacement of our customers, we felt the proximity of the subway to the store, along with accessibility for persons with disabilities, made our location a great place for growth. It has been slow, but it has, in fact, been growing. But a variety of personalities being party to their expanding tastes and interests, to hosting events that nurture people's creativity has been a gratifying experience. Our financial situation is volatile, and this is a big setback for us. We are trying to raise $3,500, $600 to replace the window, which this is me talking now. There's a picture in the Bleeding Cool article with the window of the door smashed into. It's awful. You never want to see this. Going back to Demetrios. $1,200 to replace the computer, $300 to recoup money stolen from the register, and $1,400 for the lost revenue. Any money raised will be invested into the store. I welcome people who can come in and patronize it, but I recognize that many people who can no longer reach us would like an avenue to support. So as of right now, the store has raised $6,200 of the stated goal. Now, I'm very grateful for that, but I want to say something about Demetrios and about the goal of these two stores, which are owned by him. Demetrios is a really stand-up guy. Really good guy. Anyone Comics is a great store. I've been to a few comic shops in my life. Not as many as some, more than others. And this is hands down the best comic book shop I've ever been to. Great environment, welcoming, warm. An owner and a staff that are trying to connect you with books that make sense for who you are. Regardless of who published it, like in terms of what company, regardless of political alignments, regardless of any of that. And unfortunately, that is something that is not as common as we would like it to be.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have a store like this, our responsibility is to support where we can. And this is a case where we have a store that is struggling, that is in a dire state, and is suffering because of criminality, because of someone else's greed, which is BS. That's bullshit. You want to rob a store? Go hit the Fendi store, the Gucci store. Not that I'm advocating or supporting robbery. I don't. But a comic book shop, come on. These people aren't working with Demetrios isn't getting rich off selling comic books. It's not like you're going to go into that store and find a mint copy of Batman #1 or Detective Comics #1 or some crap like that.
Making it work.
Yeah. So if you have the means and you feel like you want to support a store that's doing great stuff and you can support the GoFundMe, that would be great.
Yeah.
Marco put a link up into the chat. Thank you for doing that, Marco. And hey, if you live in the area by some, means, if you're hearing us and you're like, wow, I live in New York and you can make a trip, that'd be awesome too. I'd like to make a trip. We should make a trip.
I was gonna say I didn't realize that this was something that happened. I've been meaning to go out there. I just finished donating, and I'm probably gonna go after this to go visit because it's worth to at least I think check in as well. Because these situations can also be one, can defeat morale, but I think to be able to support, and Sean mentioned earlier that Demetrios is a really stand-up guy, really, really smart about it. And so I think worth at the very least coming over to say like, hey, like this is good. You have people behind you.
Yeah.
It's also worth pointing out too that Demetrios is really focused on building the comic book community. It's not just that he's really good at recommending books and individualizing that. He's also focused on giving creators a place to create. He's also focused on putting on D&D nights and drag shows and giving young up and coming comic creators a place to create. And that was a big thing at Anyone Comics. He had a little section down in the basement with little rooms where, with drawing tables. And this Demetrios is a massive growing pillar in the comics community. So that's, anything that goes to funding these two stores is growing the community in a good way.
Yeah.
I just shared in the chat. We interviewed Demetrios at Anyone Comics years ago, 3 years ago now. Wow. It's crazy. And just if you want to picture, if you want to see what the store looks like, if you want to meet Demetrios through the interview that we did, great guy, great store, great people. Support if you can.
Yeah, I one of the standout memories there, to the point on like him being there to facilitate comics. We had gone out to do that interview, and I looked up at the bookshelf. I'm like, oh my god, the Eternaut. He turns around, he goes, you know what that is? I was like, of course. He's like, take it because no one else does.
Right.
And I'm like, wait, no, I can't do it. He's like, half off, take it. I'm like, yo, are you sure? Please, because it's gonna facilitate you reading, and that's his mission. Still have it, dude. Great book.
Great guy. Let's talk about an impending great movie, Madam Web.
We're doing a review on this, right?
I'm
Please.
down.
I have this City World pass and it's burning a hole in my pocket.
Oh, Kale,
Like-
please,
Alright.
can we?
Oh shit! Thank you for saying that. I gotta cancel my AMC movie pass.
Not till after February 14th, baby.
You saw that Comixology premium, Sean?
Yo, oh my god, you're right. They're getting me. They're fucking getting me. No,
Sean,
they're getting me. Damn.
Sean's letting the corporations win.
I signed up for that shit during fucking Scott-tober. That was 2 years ago or whatever.
Oh,
Scott-tober never
Oh.
ends.
the marketing
See-
campaign did it.
We've seen the entire collapse of Comixology, and Sean's been paying for it the whole time.
I don't use it. I hate it. I hate Comixology. Fuck
Giving
you,
Amazon
Comixology.
free money.
Stole my money.
Yo, someone clip that, please.
Oh. My misery aside.
No.
Do you want one of us to handle this segment while you go and fix that, Sean?
He did the Sean face and everything.
Dude,
Yeah,
oh
I'm
my
sure- I'm
god.
sure.
I just
Manny, we'll cut that out eventually.
I have a fucking Barnes and Noble subscription. I tried to cancel it this summer and the website wouldn't let me cancel. I couldn't figure it out how to cancel. Oh my god. I'm wasting so much money.
Yeah, download Rocket Money on your phone right now. Find
That's
the
a
other
subscription.
subscriptions. Yeah.
He's like, I already
Oh.
have it. What the hell
Oh.
is a Barnes and Noble subscription?
The membership.
An
Yeah.
annual membership for discounts and bullshit,
Yeah, I
man.
used to sell 'em when
I
we worked
got
there,
that
yeah.
shit. I literally got my subscription 14 years ago. I stopped using it in like half that time ago.
Once you finished all of Agatha Christie's works, you were like, I don't need it anymore.
That was great.
Wow.
That was amazing.
So, Madam Web.
Oh, that's
Adam
right.
Webb, man, yeah, this fucking movie. Look, if you guys want to see it and review it, we can. I don't want to. This movie is the story here is that it's tracking for a terribly low box office opening. Valentine's Day weekend. Right now, it looks like it would come in at around $25 million, which would make it the second opening that weekend behind the Bob Marley movie that's coming out that same weekend. So it's projected to not even be the #1 movie at the box office in its own weekend. Behind a Bob Marley biopic.
It's gonna get smoked.
That Bob
So to
Marley
speak.
biopic looks pretty good, though.
I hate biopics. That dude looks nothing like Bob Marley.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
Looks like Wish Bob Marley.
The thing, I mean,
Wish,
this movie has America's Sweetheart in it, though, Sydney Sweeney. I think they need to refocus marketing a bit to really focus on Sydney Sweeney's character. Even though I'm a huge Dakota Johnson fan, she just seems uninterested in all the press for this.
Yeah, yeah.
How could she
No.
be?
I mean, she always seems uninterested, but like it's like I don't know of another word to describe it, and I'm using this in the positive sense, but it's like a uninterested cuntiness to it all that she's giving in this,
Mm-mm.
and I enjoy it. It's very good.
I don't think I've ever seen one movie that Dakota Johnson's ever been in, but I do like her. She's the time when she went on
Ellen.
Bro,
Ellen,
she took down
Yeah.
Ellen.
that was so
Loved
good,
it.
dude. And at that time, Ellen was on my hit list. Not literally, just someone that I have not liked. I used to love Ellen, but I realized she was phony, and then I started to not like her.
King
So
of
when
daytime
Dakota
TV.
Johnson came for her ass, I was all about it.
Yep, between her and Kevin T. Porter, and he did an article talking about how shitty Ellen was, and it basically crumbled the whole empire.
Much like the Madam Web movie, it became second fiddle to this Ellen moment right now with Dakota Johnson. That's how it's gonna go hot into fucking that opening weekend.
Sean, you should see the movie to support your friend who helped defeat your enemy. Honestly,
Well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to see the movie because my friends don't support me and want me to suffer. This movie is going to capital S suck.
Yeah.
get some
Sucks with a Z at the end.
My favorite
I don't
part of
have
the trailer too is that it's set in 2003. So it's made by Sony. So there's a guy clearly playing a PSP on the subway.
He's probably not playing. He's probably watching porn.
That's what the porn station portable. That's what we called it.
And
I
on
didn't
the
know that.
subway,
Yeah. I didn't know that until I caught my brother.
No, I was watching One Night in Paris in the back of the classroom.
Oh my God.
Chill.
That
There are
is-
layers of wrong, but we'll move on.
Catholic school, baby.
might be palling around.
Which we got to do one.
Yeah, we do.
So this year, there are like 2 superhero movies coming out. You got this, you got Deadpool 3, and if there's something else, I can't think of it right now. This might be the year that kills comic book movies.
This is the year.
The dryness of the year, plus the fact that at least one of the 2 movies is going to be really bad. This could be it, guys. Will Madam Web be the movie that brings down the industry?
One can only
Finally.
hope.
Killsman, fingers crossed. Dry thinking about it.
Yeah, this movie makes me sad. I don't want to watch it. I don't understand why it exists. Expect our review.
Craven, Sean. Craven's this year too.
Oh,
Is it really?
Way.
I think
Yeah,
so.
I guess it is.
Yeah, we had the trailer. Yeah.
No.
well,
way.
it was Craven was last year, got delayed into infinity, and I don't know that it has a release date right now. Does it?
It's on the pre-roll at my cinema.
It's slated for August
August,
30th.
yeah.
Fucking hell. So this is definitely the year that superhero films are gonna die.
It's the year of the Some Sea movie, baby. Because technically, I think we're supposed to get the next Spider-Verse as well. So
Ooh.
No, that's not gonna happen.
That's not happening.
I don't think it is either.
Amin Perez says, "How will this movie affect Kevin Feige's legacy?" You know what, man? People are gonna blame him for this.
Yeah.
They're gonna blame him for it. They blame him for Morbius.
Kevin Feige.
Joker
Man.
2. You guys are totally right. I completely forgot about Joker 2.
All right.
Oh.
One of the prop bets for the year should have been: does Morbius show up at some point in a movie this year?
Oh,
I could see it in Craven. I could see that.
I could see it in Madam Web.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
that
God,
one said in
Matt.
2003, and apparently they're changing the whole "with great power comes great responsibility" quote too. And
But I saw that headline and had a second to like think about it. I was like, well, they're not Uncle Ben. 2, they're not Spider-Man. So why would they get it right? Like it doesn't.
apparently, Adam Scott's Uncle Ben.
That's what they say, but we don't know that.
I know it's a whole bunch of question marks for this movie. I'm excited.
Wow.
This movie's gonna rule.
Rarely have I heard a question that I didn't want answered, like that I didn't care to know the answer. And that's one of them. I really don't care about that. Atomic Hound says the Joker musical equals Final Nail. Well,
Oh, I'm so excited for that.
Gaga saving comic book movies. Let's go.
Mhm. Agreed.
God.
I would rather go see Madam Web than Joker 2. I'm gonna put that out there.
Oh, come on.
What?
I don't give a shit about another Joker movie.
Man
A
got
sequel,
up.
a sequel to a Joker movie, which I didn't want to see in the first place, and this one's a musical. No, I'm not.
That's
interested in
perfect.
it at all.
Dude, I just saw Mean Girls. I love musicals, man. I had a dream last night that I did a Les Mis in high
Careful.
school musical. Yeah, I don't need to talk about the whole dream, all right? Russell Crowe was not in it.
Another massive Kale take with a capital L. Hey, I'm with you. That was shocking.
So good.
That is not shocking. That is perfectly on track.
I like that that's sticking.
Yeah, I'll take that back.
Kale with the L. I like that
That's
sticking.
beautiful. Yeah,
so good.
I assume Amin is the one that thought of that, and that is brilliant.
I think so.
Clever.
Oh boy. All right. Let's shift gears from the bloodbath that will be Madam Web at the box office to the bloodbath that will be Blood Hunt. Marvel is putting out Blood Hunt, which is their upcoming vampire supernatural event in the perfect month of February to launch that sort of thing. Not you wouldn't do that in October or anything like that. And this event is going to be so bloody, so gory, so mature that Marvel is putting out 2 versions of Blood Hunt. They're putting out the regular for everyone version and the red band version that will be polybagged to prevent prying eyes from seeing the horrors that are inside the pages of the comic book.
Oh. I like that. This is it's gimmick, but it's one I can get behind. Like the idea of, if anything, what was the Wolverine story that also had a warning? If they're willing to go to these depths, I think it's an interesting marketing approach, not for longevity. And I feel like if it's successful, they might learn the wrong lesson. But I'm intrigued in the experiment.
Is it essentially like in Mortal Kombat, you could turn off the blood?
Make it
But
green.
like they were like
Probably.
they can't really change anything. It's got to be the same comic.
It's not.
So
It's
the
not.
content will change and the story.
So yeah, so the story doesn't change, but it has. So the regular edition is what it is, but then there's the mature edition which has quote additional pages and more graphic art, too explicit for the regular edition.
Ooh, hooked me.
It can't be substantial plot pages though. It's probably just more vampires getting killed.
Is it more expensive?
Now Marvel wouldn't announce that, would they?
Right.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's more expensive. And Blood Hunt starts in May. Sorry, not February. I am sure it's more expensive, and I'm sure it's going to be frivolous. And I don't like this. I'm going to buy this, don't get me wrong. But I'm the problem. Like, I'm definitely the problem with comics. Don't get me wrong about that at all. I'm not excusing myself. But to me, this kind of thing is just too gimmicky. And we've seen the way that gimmicks affect the industry. Like, I don't know that we need this. It's going to increase the sales of Blood Hunt. Blood Hunt will probably be the #1 selling book that month. But it'll be because of people like me, jerk-offs, who buy multiple copies because I want the regular edition and the fucking, red band version. Who needs a red band comic? What is that?
Somebody
Yo,
I
click
don't
that,
know. I'm
please.
going to find out.
Frankly, I'll go into store for this.
I kind of wish they would have went the Kiss route with this, with a Blood Hunt themed book, where Kiss, when the Marvel Kiss comic came out, the band went to the printing facility and they cut themselves and added their blood to the ink. So every
Sick.
book that was printed had a bit of their blood in it. Like, why couldn't Jed McKay do that instead? Like, come on.
I want some
helpful.
Gene Simmons blood. Shit.
Yeah.
Yo, that's crazy.
How metal is
Blood
that?
and
That's
shit.
cool, right?
Oh, you nasty.
the brown bagged copy.
Oof. Oof.
It's got Tiger on it. You might be able to convince Sean.
And I'm going to say this too. I want you guys to understand the depths of me. I am not excited for Blood Hunt on any level. I have told you I'm buying 2 copies.
What's Bean buying?
3.
The,
Because
the Tigra cover.
Right. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there is one
ti-
too, because I think
The
they're starting
Tigra
to pick that
polybag
up.
cover.
Oh, yo, listen, I'm not gonna lie. I've definitely bought some polybag covers before, and look, you do kind of feel weird when
Yeah.
when you buy like Mirka Andolfo's Unnatural Order or one of her books or something like that, Red Sonja with a polybag. You know that when you rip that polybag off, there's gonna be some shit behind that.
Yo.
And the person behind the counter knows too, and they know why you bought it.
You're buying it
Because
like,
you're a
"Man, this,
deviant.
this dude horny as hell buying this book."
Yeah. He comes up to the register. Ooh, you'll like this cover. It's like, oh no!
It's like when I worked at Barnes and Noble and I would find Playboy issues in the bathroom all used,
No!
unpolybagged.
Nasty. All right. Let's talk about the Roxxin Thor. Everybody knows Roxxon Energy, which is one of the various fake companies that exist in Marvel Comics. And right now, and for the last decade plus, it's been run by Dario Agger, who now appears to have purchased Marvel Comics in continuity. And if you've been reading The Immortal Thor, then you know that he's got a plan to publish Thor comics and do something nefarious with the rights that he now has. And so it appears that Marvel might be publishing a different version of Thor. So here we go. Yesterday, quote, yesterday, the industry was shook when they learned that Roxxon Energy Corporation had bought out Marvel Comics. Their first order of business will be releasing an all-new Thor one-shot this April titled Roxxon Presents Thor #1. And they even got current Immortal Thor scribe Al Ewing and superstar Marvel artist Greg Land to create it. The one-shot will introduce the all-new Roxxin Thor. Whenever saving the Earth is taken too far, the Roxxin Thor will be there to defend big business and the sanctity of shareholder value.
Fucking love this.
Something about this announcement has really tripped people up, and I don't understand why. I really, really, really don't.
Probably not reading the comics.
Is it
Maybe that.
is it the artist?
That's a part of it. So people been saying, even in our Discord and on Twitter, I don't know what this is. I don't understand this. Well, if you've been reading Immortal Thor, you should, because it's all there. Dario Agger intends to monetize Thor. That's it. He bought Marvel Comics so that he could make money off of Thor because he hates him. And they're going to publish comics that have nothing to do with art or creativity. They're going to publish them for money, right? So this is a comic book that is essentially meta, right? Because that's what people say. Oh, Marvel and DC don't publish comics for art. They publish them for profit. Well, now they're about to do just that from Dario Agger. And the kicker, the thing that takes it over the top, the thing that people seem to really not get is Greg Land being a part of this. I looked at Greg Land's announcement and I go, oh shit, Marvel's really going meta with this because Greg Land is the #1 accused artist of copying and tracing, of having no creative integrity. So they got the artist with quote unquote, is not me saying this, no creative integrity to do the least creatively integral comic book that Marvel's ever done.
Amazing.
I love this.
So
This
good.
is brilliant.
Yeah.
This is good fucking comics in Marvel. This is how you build an idea. It gets teased out in a certain book. You drum up that excitement. This is learning the good lessons of long form storytelling, sequential storytelling.
And also, them poking some fun at themselves. Al Ewing, sort of commenting a little bit on comics or the perception of the industry. hopefully, if Greg Land is aware of my supposition that he's being used as a part of a larger meta joke, hopefully he's cool with that. I like Greg Land, so I don't think this is a bad thing at all. And I think in context, there's no better artist they could have got.
Yeah, I like how Greg Land fits into the storytelling of the book as a choice. And I honestly, I'm not a big Greg Land hater myself. I think his issue is he's colored weird, but I think with a different colorist, things could look more dynamic.
P.S. Greg Land is also not the only artist I've ever seen self-reference or trace or anything like that.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's
It's efficiency. It's fine.
I'm excited for this.
Yeah, pumped.
Does it help you sort of understand what happened in Thor this week?
No. I already knew this when we talked about Thor.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah. And I still don't understand who knows what, like in the context of Immortal Thor. Who knows what, who's doing what, why. We don't know if, or at least I wasn't clear on the idea of, are they actively changing the past? Is that what Thor and or is that what Enchantress and Agar are doing? Are we watching that play out? There's no directness, so I was left a little bit, wanting, I guess.
I feel like this enhances those moments a bit for me. That, like, in context, I'm like, okay, this is the big thing that he's been leading up to. This is what all those illusions and things were. I mean, we'll see how it plays out a bit more granularly in the story. But I mean, I wonder if it's even like, I've published the rights to Immortal Thor, so that way I can get my Thor over and make him the Thor.
He is trying to get his Thor over. And I think you actually just said something really interesting. Like, what if, because we see the Thor that they created. If you look, if you're watching on YouTube, on the right-hand side, we can see basically a new cast of supporting characters for Thor that all look like them. They look like they're supposed to look, sort of, but they're off. Thor's a Chad,
sure,
for example. So what if, to your point, Marco, the idea is to create these characters in story and then bring them to life. And Thor, our Thor, will have to physically confront the Roxxin Thor and defeat him.
Yes, exactly. I love it.
It's yes, Mojo like too, like the X-Men Mojo stuff too.
Oh yeah.
I like how this Thor, the Roxxin Thor, also he has the big T on him. Super stereotypical superheroes, super heroics. That Loki, is that not the older Loki?
Looks like it, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, looks pretty close, yeah.
Does that mean that potentially that was a plant?
I mean, it's Thor and Loki. Like,
yeah,
it's not gonna look that different.
Sure. Interesting. Cool.
Al Ewing cooking. Steady
top
cooking.
Guy.
Chefing. Top chef.
There it is.
Absolutely. Jason Aaron is chefing up something in the IDW space for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We talked about that last week. He was announced as the writer for the next ongoing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle series, whenever that relaunch happens in July. We didn't know who the artist would be. This week, we learned that it won't be one artist, but like there are 4 OG Turtles, there are 4 artists for the first arc of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So the way it's going to break out, announced by IGN, is that there will be 4 artists, namely Raphael Albuquerque, Joel Jones, Cliff Chang, and Chris Burnham.
Whoa.
Each one of them will do one issue of the first arc apiece that each focus on one of the main 4 OG Turtles. So a Leo issue drawn by X, a Donnie issue drawn by Y, etc.
I have who is drawing which too.
Okay.
Raphael is by Joel Jones, which comes out in July. Michelangelo by Raphael Albuquerque is August. Cliff Chang does Leonardo in September, and the one I'm most excited for, Donatello by Chris Burnham in October.
Interesting. Damn, I like that Cliff Chang Leonardo. That makes sense. That feels good.
Really surprised by those choices.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, the artist and turtle pairing.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then after the first arc, Albuquerque will take over for the second arc exclusively. My first question for you guys is, are you more or less excited by the idea that this will, at least for the first arc, have multiple artists?
Hey.
I don't love it. As Marco scolds his cat, I don't love it because I feel like if you're going to be establishing a new brand and a new era, changing up the art style so drastically for the first 4 issues is a little hard to gain a footing. If they had announced like, oh, Albuquerque's doing the first arc, Joel Jones doing the second arc, I'd be more okay with that, I think. But then you can't really plan that far ahead and announce it. So like we don't even know if one of these other 3 artists is going to be doing the arc after Albuquerque either. So, especially if they're not doing it, and it's just one shots with Chris Burnham's art style. Like, am I excited for that single issue? Yes, but for an ongoing, it confuses me.
I don't mind it. I don't mind when you change artists and when you have, especially in between issues, like in a single issue, and you're flipping between different styles and stuff. That might throw me off a bit more. But I don't mind when I see a change from one issue to the other. It feels like it is a single like one shot moment, and I'm okay with that being a beat. But the fact that we're then getting one artist afterwards, you just got to go back to net. You're not varying this, and I don't feel like I need Joel Jones to start to pick up afterwards, and then Cliff Chang to pick up after that. That feels like it becomes a lot more busy. I like this as a moment, and then give me the continuity with 2 creators, because I enjoyed that more so than anything else.
Yeah, I think I agree. I'm not. I really, when I saw this, I was a little deflated, to be honest, because I think I look at the first few issues of a comic as setting the foundation, and you can't set the foundation with varying artists. And also, maybe if you said like these artists have some kind of history, they drew TMNT before, something along those lines. All right, there's a thematic reason, I get it. Right now, it's just 4 turtles, 4 artists. I also like these are great artists. They made some interesting choices, but they're not that, like, I don't think of TMNT and think I need to see these people. I don't know.
Mm, mm. Like smaller time artists, like a more mid level, you mean, would be more fitting?
Not necessarily. It's just that I don't know that I see any of these as being like, yeah, this is like the right fit. Like, and again, like they're not even here for more than one issue, so I guess they're not the right fit. In which case, why were they chosen? Was it just because they're big names and were available? I'd rather there be a creative reason why.
It's also like Sean and I were just saying, like, we were surprised by the choices of artist and turtle.
Yeah.
To me, with those choices like Raphael and Albuquerque, coincidentally Raphael, like those make the most sense. So it feels like they don't even, they're not even working necessarily to make it fit. You know what I mean?
Well, Albuquerque's on Michelangelo, actually. Joel Jones is on Raphael.
I think that's the point Kill was making.
Oh, I see. Sorry.
Like Burnham on Donatello makes sense to me. That one fits in my eyes. But the way like Joel Jones is drawing Raphael in this, it's the most intense looking art of the 4. So I think they're adjusting.
I feel like they're trying to the aesthetic is trying to fit the character's temperament, and that seems to be matching to some degree. Joel Jones is, inks and thin lines. I feel like that makes sense. Albuquerque has a lot of detail, and this is like etching for some reason. The shadows or something makes sense. Leonardo as being this kind of like more cartoony style, for me, I think makes a lot of sense. And then Donatello with Burnham, again, that scratchiness, the more grit down to the ground, it feels good to me.
The thing that's jumping out to me with the preview art is that it's black and white except for the face coverings. I'd be curious if that's something they're going to be doing in the book itself to kind of harken back to the original series, the Eastman and Laird stuff.
Dan Trudeau says this announcement will pull in more readers. If the writing is good, you'll wind up with a bigger audience carried into the series. I don't know that I agree with that. I don't know that I feel like announcing that there will be more artists involved necessarily makes this, like, bigger isn't always necessarily better. I don't know that seeing these names, I mean, these are great artists, but are they the names that make people go, I have to buy that? Like, I got to get in there and get that. I don't feel like this is an announcement that makes people flock to the stands. I think TMNT as a name stands on its own pretty well. Jason Aaron's a big writer. If you say Jason Aaron and Raphael Albuquerque are on this book, I think that's perfectly fine. I don't think that adding Joel Jones adds double the sales or anything of that nature.
Yeah, Matt Murphy in the chat. I don't agree with a lot of the stuff he's saying, but the one thing I do, he's pretty heated in here. The one thing I do agree on is that having these be more like a Raphael one shot, a Michelangelo one shot, and then start with number one with your actual team of Aaron and Albuquerque, in my mind, makes more sense. As to just 1, 2, 3, 4, and then our real book doesn't start till issue 5.
Well, we don't quite know that that's not how it's going to go. We don't know that these won't be, somehow this first arc won't actually make, like, we don't know that it won't make sense as an arc unto itself.
Narratively, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't know that won't work. I mean, if it doesn't, then that's just straight up bizarre.
Yeah. My issue is more just not a narrative issue, just more of a visual issue. With the first 4 issues of a story being visually different from each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this announcement kind of took away my excitement just a little bit from this new relaunch.
Is there one of these 4 that you would want to see on the book proper?
Probably Albuquerque, but it would just be because I like him most.
Burnham for me, I think. I think he fits really well in that style.
I think Burnham for me too. I think Burnham also has that kind of indie feel to him.
Yeah, it's a little more scratchy grain.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. July. I'm still going to buy the book. Still looking forward to the book.
Same.
So, DSTLRY, we talked about DSTLRY last week. Not necessarily so glowingly, but this week we are going to talk about a couple of new books that DSTLRY is soliciting for April. And one of them is by a couple of favorites. Well, both of them are by favorites. Let me not disparage anybody. James Tynion and Christian Ward are teaming up for Spectrograph, which is going to be, you guessed it, a horror series from 2 guys who do the horrors.
What? Who would have thought?
I know, right? Quote, for years, the mansion has sat strangely, nestled into the coastline just a short drive north of Los Angeles. Rumors have haunted the place for years. Its owner, a titan of American industry, with a strange fascination in the occult and the paranormal. For decades, the richest men and women in the country have whispered to each other, trying to understand what he was building alone in that mansion for all those years. And now, finally, with his death and his estate finally open for sale, they are eager to find out for themselves. Okay. More horror, more good.
Sure.
I guess.
I mean, if anything, the images are selling it a bit more. The art's selling it a bit more, I would say. Uh, Brain, Skin Sack, and Ghost Guts is cool. But I'm sitting here thinking, am I gonna get this? Like, am I gonna be able to get this? I might be inclined, I might be interested. And Tinian does good horror. Ward's really good art. But what is the feasibility of being able to purchase this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. Like, I really love Tynan and Ward. I think they're both tremendous. But I just don't get up for a distillery announcement. And it's not, there's no good reason for me to feel that way, I guess. Like, the books are fine. I haven't read any of them. But there's something about it that it's like I'm just not excited.
We were talking about it in Discord a bit. I think Sylv brought it up, but I was like, do we even know their plan for publishing collected editions?
No,
Not even
not that
talked about.
I don't.
Which is, like, in my opinion, how I want to read these books. I think
Mm.
the production value of the physical books, even though I had to go out and get a physical single issue one when Devil's Cut came out. I think I have Somna as well, but having to like it's well made, so having it collected is interesting to me. But I don't know how the hell it's going to happen.
How much was Somna?
$10 comics.
Yeah, it's
if I
about
recall.
$10. Yeah,
Yep.
Damn, it's selling for 20. Any cover right now is selling for 20, tax included, and then obviously shipping.
Where?
On the site at the moment. Oh, actually, there's one here, $8.99, but it's the cover D. Not my favorite.
Yeah, Distillery's publishing strategy is bewildering, and it takes away from my ability to feel like motivated and excited about these books. But I think I'm actually more excited about the second book here than the first,
same.
because the second one is from Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Riso, called The Blood Brothers' Mother. And they did 100 Bullets together, which I've never read, but by all accounts, a classic series. So this is what this one's about. Quote, in the Old West, 3 children set off across the wild Texas frontier to rescue their mother, kidnapped by ruthless outlaws who gunned down their preacher father. Throughout their journey, they'll face the harsh elements of an unforgiving landscape, deadly animals hungry for blood, merciless bounty hunters, and so much more, all in a relentless quest to rescue their family. They'll learn the terrible cost of revenge, not just in lives, but how it stains a soul. While revenge may be satisfying in the moment, it leaves a yearning behind that lasts a lifetime. And once you taste it, nothing else is ever so sweet.
I like that's a Western.
Yeah, Azzarello and Riso is a buy for me no matter what. I like that team enough where I will try and find a way to read this.
Emphasis on the try to find a way
This
to.
is why I said it. Yeah. Like they did was it Dark Knight, a true Batman story with Paul Dini, or about Paul Dini a couple
Oh.
years back.
Oh yeah, that was them.
One of my
had
favorite
that.
books in recent memory. That thing was amazing. So those guys are a draw for me for sure. So they got me at least with this one.
Oh, 100 Bullets guy. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't read anything from their collaboration together, but I always love to see creative teams that work together consistently.
Mm.
So I'm
Bless you.
looking forward to this. Thank you. This one I'm pretty sure I'll read. But then again,
How?
well, I mean, Kale, I've bought every Distillery book.
You're talking
Do
to the
you?
guy.
Ow.
Of course I do. Physically. What's so hard about that?
I guess that's it.
Where?
It's
Midtown
wild.
Comics. They're not hard to find. They're there.
Huh?
Wild to me that the physical printings are easier to find than the digital.
That's by design. It's completely by design. That's their business strategy.
That's literally the first I've heard of that. Like, I thought their business strategy was NFTs in this digital marketplace. Like,
So they're having their cake and eating it too. They're publishing physical comics, but then they're also making, theoretically exponentially more money than cover price through this digital strategy. And yeah, there's more scarcity in the digital space than the physical one for this thing. They might as well put a golden ticket into an occasional issue of these books.
Wild. This is the first I've even heard of physical copies, other than like the couple that you guys have gotten for Somna or whatever.
Well, quite frankly, they haven't put out many more issues than just the couple that Somna and Devil's Cut, obviously, and then there's
Yeah.
one more, I think.
Yeah, there is one more. Is it a Tinian book? Tinian book?
I don't know.
No? Good job, Distillery. We cover this and we can't even name them.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I am excited for the book though. I'm excited for both of them, and hopefully I read them. I want to read Distillery's books.
Yeah, yeah. I want to like those things. They're from creators that I know are good. So I'm there to be able to read more from these creators.
Yeah.
It's the jock book gone. That's the other.
There
one.
you go.
Yeah.
There you
Gone
go.
already? Just kidding.
Only
on
digitally.
their website, it probably is. It's digitally gone. Digitally gone. What are we? One like away? Something like that?
I saw 2 last I refreshed. So close.
All right, let's see. What are we at?
Oh, 29.
There
One
we
more.
go. I got 30.
I got 30.
Boom.
Yeah.
All right. That means it's game time. And so we have devised a new way to determine, because we've got several games now, to determine what game we will play every week. So you guys got us over the hump. We got to the likes goal. We are introducing to you for the very first time the Comics Pals Wheel of Games. On this wheel, we have pretty much all of our favorite games, the games that we play that we love, the games that you hopefully love. We've got 2 Truths, 1 Lie, What If, Be the Editor, Buy or Sell, The Draft, and Give Me the Green Light. Those are all there. Give Me the Green Light, for those of you who haven't been around since that game was introduced, is a really fun game. But one of these games will get played today, and the winner will be determined by the wheel spin. So, Tyler, why don't you give that wheel a tug and see where it lands?
I'm going to tug it live on stream. Let's go.
We should add the littlest sliver that says Marco shows.
Sorry.
Did I cut out? Oh, that's fine.
Oh, yep. All right. It's buy
Shows.
or sell time.
Ooh.
Oh, it landed on buy or sell.
Buy or sell.
Wow.
We
We haven't
haven't-
played that in a long time.
Yeah, we haven't done a buy or sell in whew.
About as long as Apples and Origins.
Oh, another one. Damn.
All right. Well, I've got a buy or sell prepared for you guys that I think is pretty interesting. So, buy or sell. The way it works, by the way, just for those of you who don't know, I'll present a couple of options. You buy on something, that means that's what you want and it exists. You sell on something else, that means you don't want it, it doesn't exist. You don't get that. All right. So, I looked at 2 of my all-time favorite superhero runs. This is hard for me. I don't know the answer. Buy or sell? Jonathan Hickman's Avengers run or Brian Michael Bendis' Avengers run? Can only have one.
Marco having trouble remembering what happens in either.
Marco having trouble remembering if he's read it.
For me, I'm going to buy Bendis's run and sell Hickman's.
Oof.
Bendis's Avengers run is soul food for me. I don't know if it's aged too great. but it just in my mind, it's what comics was when I got into it. So it's like a cornerstone for me.
Tough.
I also think the stuff around Bendis's Avengers run was a lot more accessible and ignited a lot more fervor than the stuff that surrounded Hickman's.
I agree. Yeah.
So this is really hard because I adore both of these so much, and I break it down because you're right. When we say Bendis's run, there's so much that surrounds that that wasn't necessarily done by him. For example, that doesn't include Civil War. Civil War was done by Mark Miller, not Bendis. Whereas the events that surround the Hickman era that are tethered to it, that impact it most, were done by Hickman. So Hickman had 2 successful events, Infinity and Secret Wars, and 2 successful ongoing Avengers books, Avengers and New. Bendis had New Avengers, which was obviously a smash success, Mighty Avengers, which was less good, and Secret Invasion and Siege as the events that Bendis wrote for his tenure, which were Siege was awesome, but ends bad, and Secret Invasion is, it's cool.
We have Dark Avengers as well, and the whole Dark Reign era.
Avengers. Avengers, yeah.
But we
Go
can't
ahead.
even count Civil War.
Right.
Like,
yeah, it doesn't count.
That entire event.
Does not count.
What does that mean for the Bendis books in that?
Oh, well, whatever happens in Bendis's books counts, but what doesn't. So I can't give him credit for Civil War because he didn't do it. But he did a lot of compelling shit in Avengers, New Avengers, that is based on Civil War that I really liked.
He did you Disassembled as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
And
would
House of M.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
would be I mean, House of M, technically an Avengers sort of book.
I'm counting from when his Avengers run started, which is
okay, post Civil War. Okay,
not post Civil War, pre Civil War.
Pre Civil War. Yeah.
Based on that criteria, even though my heart tells me that I liked Bendis's run more, I think factually, like book to book, I have to choose Hickman.
I think I'm with you. Yeah.
But without Bendis's Avengers, you wouldn't have had Dark Reign, which gave him the book Secret Warriors that he co-wrote with Hickman, which then kickstarted Hickman's run at Marvel doing some. Well, he did Fantastic Four, but in that Avengers section,
I think you're going too deep into
my tinfoil hat is on very tight.
I would argue Hickman probably didn't need Bendis. It was only a matter of time.
He was doing Ultimate stuff at that point. Yeah.
I think that was the first instance, though, of a time when I noticed and understood that there was a Ghost Rider situation in comics where Bendis his name was on the book, but he wasn't writing it. It was only ever Hickman. It was just a way to get the book to sell. But yeah, I buy on Hickman.
I think it's got to be Hickman.
I like the roster better.
On Hickman?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because everyone's on there. Like, it's barely a roster. It's Avengers World,
You've read more of it too, Marco.
Yeah, I've read. I think that's the only bit of it that I've read.
Marco's favorite Avenger is Ex Nihilo.
Well, and I think that while Bendis's stuff is more accessible, and it really made stuff more TV like in reading comics. You could read it episode to episode, and it was like following a TV show. Hickman's stuff was just more interesting. Like, there was deeper stuff happening for the most part.
Counterpoint: Bendis put Wolverine and Spider-Man on the Avengers. Huge thing that happened.
True.
It made Avengers
like
probably what the Avengers are.
Ooh, I do like that.
But they were also in Hickman's Avengers. So.
Oh, they might not have been if Bendis has never.
And also, Hickman's Avengers had the superior Spider-Man. So
Quite literally, that's true.
you can't catch me on that one.
For me, Hickman's Avengers just appeals more to my brain. It's very thoughtful. It's extremely deep. It's dealing with heady issues that I like to think about, and it gives you superheroes to enjoy and pretty colors and characters while you think about deep shit. That's what I like in comics. So as much as I adore Bendis's run, and it's a top tier run without question, I think the totality, nothing that Bendis did event wise touches Secret Wars. Not even close, unfortunately.
Okay.
I think Secret Wars is the best Marvel event outside of Civil War.
It's definitely the best Fantastic Four event.
So, Marco, what's your pick? Do you have a...
Hickman.
This actually reminds me of another game I wanted to play where it's like close your eyes and I give you a character and you tell me who you think of first in terms of creator. Because like when I close my eyes, I'm like, oh, I see New Avengers. If you say think of the Avengers, in my mind it's New Avengers.
That's good.
Me too. But I think that has more to do with nostalgia than anything, and I didn't want to answer that way.
It's more of a Rorschach test, really. Yeah.
Like where you start, where is your beginning for the characters?
Right.
Yeah.
Bendis will always have me for that reason, and the stories are phenomenal. But I just think Hickman took it to another level. Let's see what the chat has to say. So Amin says House of M, that has to be mentioned and included. I guess. I feel like I in my mind I was thinking from New Avengers forward, but I guess if you want to say from Disassembled forward, then that would certainly be included. But I would still give the answer Hickman.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I do agree
Every
with Mike
issue
Elliott,
of Hickman.
though.
Sorry, go ahead.
I do agree with Mike Elliott saying that every issue of Hickman's Avengers feels urgent. I mean, Time Runs Out was a literal arc.
Yeah, there were stakes that really, really mattered. Like, I'll never forget those New Avengers issues where the Illuminati, and it's not a fight, it's just them talking about what to do about the incursions. And I had to say to myself, which is something that most comics haven't made me ask, a real question about what I would do. Would you kill billions of people to save billions of people from your Earth? Would you be a mass murderer, the biggest mass murderer of all time, dozens of times over, just for you and yours to not die? That is an enormous question. And he did it with people in capes and spandex.
I still remember that conversation.
And I
still
think
say yes.
I think the struggle here and where Bendis is sort of handicapped in the conversation is the Civil War part. Because you had that exact same conundrum with Civil War, but in this conversation, that's Mark Millar.
If Civil War was included, I would choose Ben. If we're talking eras, I would definitely choose that era. But because he didn't write Civil War, I can't credit him with that. That was the first comic that made me think. I can't choose.
What about the Raft breakout, Sean? The Raft breakout's so good.
Sick. I love that shit. I can't wait to read it again. I haven't read it in a decade.
Dan Trudeau in the chat. I gotta give it to Bendis. I think this run was the cornerstone of the best Marvel era.
Which run do you think had a better artist company with them? Yeah, you had Finch. You had Immonen with Bendis.
Oh, I might like Immonen more than Finch.
I would say
Immonen.
Bendis because I think I didn't. Hickman did a lot with people I'm not crazy about.
Fair.
Dude, I think I might even still go with Hickman because Hickman worked with Epting and Deodato Jr., who are two of my all-timers. Literally.
Yeah, Pena on the opening one is what jumps out to me when I think of Hickman, too.
Yep.
Pena?
Yeah.
The first, correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, but like the first arc of his Avengers run when they go to like Ex Nihilo and stuff is Pena. Yeah.
That shit was sick. Oh
It was
my
good
god,
looking, dude. That was some good looking books, and that was like, oh,
Oh.
Avengers is interesting. Whoa, it's a different flavor. It's high sci-fi now.
Yeah.
Hold on. We can't if this is what's happening right now, we cannot talk about the Hickman era of Avengers without talking about the fight between Black Bolt and Thanos from Infinity.
That's what I'm saying.
My man.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
That's top tier shit.
Black Bolt is underrated.
Yeah.
And Hickman knows that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thanos is in the minds of the masses, Thanos is the biggest villain there is. And Black Bolt put boots to ass for like 2.5 seconds in
Mhm.
that comic book. And I loved it. It's great. You want to do another one real quick?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got one in me.
All right. So another buy or sell. Or do you want to spin the wheel? Let's spin the wheel again. Fuck it.
I have I have graphics for each of these games now. So
Let's spin the wheel
Nice.
okay.
That's good. That thing one's a good graphic.
I
for
kind of
buy-
reused a little
buy
bit of
stuff.
stuff from Quest 3 there, but that's fine. All right, let's spin it again.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what it lands on.
Is it buy or sell again?
Is it? All
It
right.
is,
Well,
yeah.
all right. So we'll do one more buy or sell. Okay. So look, there are a lot of bad comic book events. And I'm a masochist. So we're going to have to buy or sell on 3 events that are, well, less great than the events that came out during the Hickman and Bendis era of Avengers. So, Night Terrors, Civil War 2, and Invasion.
Oh.
Buy or sell?
Oh.
So
Sell
the
it.
one we buy, the other 2 are sold.
Yep.
They don't exist.
Buy Invasion.
I'm with Kel.
Sell Night
Oh.
Terror. Sell Civil War 2.
I honestly, yeah.
Easy.
Damn.
Easy. Not
Easy?
even a question for me.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not even a question for me.
This is the easiest one so far. For me, it's the skeleton of Invasion helps future crossovers and event comics.
For me, forget the future. For me, the skeleton of
Moment.
Invasion is better than Civil War 2 and Night Terrors put together.
Night Terrors for sure. Night Terrors, I think, is definitely not a buy. So it's between Invasion and Civil War. So remind me of the concept of Civil War 2.
Civil War 2 is Iron Man against Captain Marvel. There's a new character who debuts who can see the future and determine who's going to do crime. And they have to decide how to use that information.
Oh, Invasion, dude. Yeah.
Marco, by the way, has not read Civil War 2, right?
I have not. I've not, to be fair. To be honest, I haven't.
Civil War 2 is a character assassination of Carol Danvers that took years for her to come back from.
Still trying.
Which is wild because it was Bendis.
And I don't agree that it was a character assassination. I've never felt that way.
Dang. She's where she belongs.
No.
Whoa, wait.
What I'm saying is that, and I'm buying on Civil War 2, by the way. I'm blown away that you guys chose Invasion. So first of all, Civil War 2 has David Marquez on art. That is insane.
Yeah,
And
Todd McFarlane.
That's early Todd. It's not nearly as good as what Todd would go on to do later. And David Marquez definitely put his whole ass in Civil War 2. But beyond that, Civil War 2 to me does what I like with Carol Danvers, which is it puts her in an interesting position where she's not like every other hero. I always felt that it was compelling that Carol Danvers was more like people always said like a right-wing hero. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that she doesn't have lockstep thoughts just like every other hero does. The same way I felt Iron Man was compelling in Civil War 1, I thought Civil War 2 took her to a compelling place.
Mm.
I felt like it made her very much a Bush era preemptive strike type that felt weird for me.
But what
For
was different
Carol.
between that and her in Mighty Avengers and Civil War era?
The costume,
He's-
first of all.
She's
Okay, but for real.
she's a military person. Like,
Yeah, it's not out of the realm of, I don't know why people changed who Carol is, but Civil War 2 is not where the character assassination is.
I say if you had gone from Miss Marvel into that version of Carol, that makes sense. But in between that, we had Kelly Sue's run on Captain Marvel and that reinvention of the character, and it felt like a regression rather than a continuation.
I mean, one person's regression is another person's return to form. I prefer the old Carol. And I think Bendis did not do a good job with Civil War 2 overall, but the concept is way more interesting than Invasion or Night Terrors. Because it's asking a question that's compelling. Oh, wow, the heroes are asleep. Who cares? Oh, wow, there's an invasion of aliens against Superman. Wow. Civil War 2 has a problem you can't punch.
It's compelling.
Yep.
Okay.
The chat all buying on Civil War 2.
Word.
We had
Easy.
to have that as a poll option in one of the book clubs. There seems to be some discussion there to be had.
be interesting.
You're down to read it. Follow up to Civil War. I'm
Ooh.
excited.
Aaron
Well,
Ruiz, sorry.
Don't
go
be
ahead.
excited.
It's not good, but it is interesting.
Alright.
And it looks amazing.
Do you feel like the Hawkeye stuff is bad in that?
So in that book, Hawkeye tries to kill the Hulk, and then what? I forget.
He essentially
Hits him in the
kills
eye,
Bruce
doesn't
Banner.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's par for the course.
Uh-huh.
Normal shit.
Good ass
only-
shot. Like, what do you want?
Yeah. I hated the only thing I really didn't like was that Captain Marvel put Iron Man in a coma, just because I thought that was like it was just silly. I thought, I don't know.
Yeah. Shield
But-
gets killed too. Yeah.
Damn, I might have to read that again. Maybe I missed something.
I don't know.
I don't.
I
Do-
don't
do
think
you-
you did, bro.
When do you say you missed something? You missed something in the positive or the negative?
The positive.
Okay.
I really wanted to like it though, and I was reviewing those for a certain website at the time.
No.
So I thought deeply about Civil War 2.
Man, you got to review that, and I was reviewing movie Tiny Comics. God damn it.
Yeah, you were. Well, listen, I was the COO.
Oh, okay.
Aaron Ruiz says, "I buy Civil War 2. Sorry, Carol, got to take the hit." Then he said, "Sean, come on, I buy on it, but Carol was done so dirty. How? Like, is it what Tyler said? Because I just don't agree with that. I don't feel like that, but I understand why people would." And I get that this new version of Carol's more popular, but it's not who she always was. It is a change.
But I also think that, you know, a lot of like what Kelly Sue did was make like a military person like go into their personal life. And of course, everybody's a nice guy in their personal life, unless they're not. When you're faced with a massive decision, you know, like the one presented in Civil War 2, military people are going to have different opinions that aren't going to gel with normal people.
Hale, this is making me feel like we need to do a fucking book club, because what you just said is so true and it's so ignored. It is completely ignored. I'm pretty sure Bendis chose her in that position, A, to elevate her, but B, for that exact reason. That exact specific reason. Why would a military person, if the military had access to a precog, to someone who could see future crime, they would 150 million% use that.
It's Minority Report.
Yeah.
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 It wouldn't even be a question. And it's interesting to me that even though I don't agree with this, it's interesting to me that Iron Man's on the other end of that.
That's another issue I have with the book too. Iron Man doesn't feel like the proper foil for that conflict of worldview. You know,
Right.
Like if it was Cap, but I think Cap was off the board because of Secret Empire. I think, right?
No, this is
pre. I always forget the
Yeah.
order of those two. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would argue Iron Man's seen Minority Report, so he already knows how it goes.
Fair.
You know,
I'd be interested to see where I land on that actually.
Dan says, I think you guys are making assumptions about military people. We're not. We're certainly not making any assumptions about the United States government. And Carol is a stand-in for the United States government in the comics. She is a military person. She is a part of, and when I said government, I meant military. My bad. She's a stand-in for the military. She represents them in that book. And I don't think that it's weird that she would take that position. Yes, are there military people who wouldn't feel that way? Absolutely. But this is not the world. This is the world of Marvel Comics. And so someone has to represent that idea because it's a real idea that exists in the world. And I don't understand why Carol cannot be that.
My favorite
She's
part
not
of this
allowed to be that.
my favorite part of this whole discussion is that like this is technically during the Inhumans era of Marvel too. So like the person that was a precog was like a new Inhuman, so we had to deal with that as well. But it was like they were on the wane a bit.
Right. He was an Inhuman. Yeah. Yeah.
That Inhumans run, that era of Inhumans is good. I'm sorry, that's good stuff.
You don't have to apologize for that.
That was good X-Men comics.
That maybe you should apologize for.
Maybe we'll get to Civil War 2 one day. Maybe we will.
I mean, in this new structure we're talking about, you know, that you fit it in there. You know what I mean?
The listeners want it. If they demand it, it'll happen. It'll happen.
Let it happen, baby. I want to see where I land on the military industrial complex. El United.
I have a feeling we can already guess.
I was who was I? I was on. I think I was on Iron Man's side for Civil War.
Yeah,
That
you are.
tracks. Yeah, that tracks.
It's reasonable. That is absolutely reasonable. In the real world, Iron Man is 100% right. In comics, Cap's right. That's cool. Sure, whatever. But in real life, where people will die due to superheroics, these motherfuckers need to be trained. Absolutely. I do not want a new Warriors running around in the real world. That's awful. My kid dies at a school because these motherfuckers are having a brawl. Yeah, go to jail, please.
Go to jail.
I'm pretty sure
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure the Stanford incident was a whole bunch of crisis actors. You know, I'm a Civil War truther at this point.
Oof.
I mean, and there's, you know, not to get terribly political, but we do see some of that in, you know, some of the police interaction, you know, covering up their badges, you know, and turning off the cameras or whatever, you know, like that it's all about like the reform and commentary on reform and stuff like that. So yeah, I think you're.
Did you guys ever do a Civil War book club?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was fun. That was really fun, actually. The JMS stuff in particular, the Ben stuff, amazing.
That wasn't JMS.
No.
You're thinking of damn, what was that called? It wasn't JMS. JMS was on Spidey at the time.
Oh, I'm thinking of the reporter.
Oh, Ben Urich.
Ben Urich.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, Frontline. You're thinking of
Frontline.
Frontline.
Yes,
That was
yes.
an amazing
Frontline was
book.
good.
Yeah, love that. That got my wheel spinning.
Yeah,
Man.
absolutely.
There are people, I'm not among them, but there are people who say that Civil War Frontline is better than Civil War.
I might be one of those.
The event book itself,
Yeah.
I think I agree.
Wow.
Because it's all action, you know.
Yeah.
But
that's true.
Frontline presents the actual meat of the conversation.
Yeah. Dan says the issue is Miller took it to the extreme. He went to a full police state response where you force people to work for the government if you have powers. No, that's not true. That's not true. If you have powers and you intend to use them, that's a different thing. If you intend to run around in the street with a gun and capture criminals, you should be a cop. And if you're not a cop, you should not be doing that. Why? Because it's dangerous and you don't know what you're doing. And if I die because of your shit, I want my family to have a place to sue.
Yeah. You buy a car, you buy insurance, you register your car insofar as
It's common sense.
I can't get into it here, but man, I wish I was on the Civil War episode now.
We might have to do another one.
Yeah, dude, that was good.
And maybe we should do a Civil War rock block.
No, we should have that in a poll with Identity Crisis.
We still
And then Tower of Babel, just all weird conflict
Discussion events.
Yeah, exactly.
Amin says, if I got out after a 12-hour shift and my house got blown out by a new Avenger, that motherfucker got to go to jail. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Without question. I feel like people a lot of times look at this as if it's like not happening because they're only reading a comic. You got to think about this shit. Like, what if you were a Civ in Marvel?
Well,
What
and
if you had
that's
kids at this school?
yeah, and that's my massive problem with Man of Steel. It's like there's so like the film, there's so much collateral damage that's directly caused by Superman, and that that massive beam, you know, the Superman I know would never be cool with that. He would have got them out of there first thing. And it's just nuts. And that is to say, like, he couldn't do it with Doomsday, but like Doomsday, like physically prevented it. Whereas Zod and the other two literally fought him and were movable, you know.
I really don't want to get into a Man of Steel conversation, but I do not agree. I love that movie.
That's my problem with that movie.
Yeah.
Besides the the point.
Your choices in these, like, who do you side with, are consistent, it seems.
In reference to me?
Who?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, what is the consistent element?
I don't know how to verbalize that just now, but if like siding with Iron Man in Civil War and then siding with the decision of Superman doing what he had to do.
It's practicals.
Maybe that's the word I'm looking for.
It's to me, it's objective in the sense that regardless of how you personally feel, people with power should not be running around doing people with power shit.
Yeah.
Like it's cool and I love superheroes and Cap and everybody like that, but like, yo, no, if there was a character like Negasonic Teenage Warhead, I definitely would not want that person to be running around with no license, no training. Iron Man better help her out. Absolutely.
I want to know where you are at all times.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be Negasonic Teenage Warhead the hell out of here.
Yeah.
That's a bomb. That's a living bomb.
Yeah.
Dan says Sean sides with the man. That's what it is.
Dude, I side with Human. I want us to be here. We will not be here if these heroes get to do what they want.
Ooh, I don't fully agree on the humanity approach, but
You don't agree with siding with humanity? What does that mean?
No,
that
of course
tracks.
he fucking doesn't. This is the dude that wants to be in a computer.
let me live.
This is the dude who eats soup for breakfast.
Good soup at that. Full circle. End it.
Dan says, I agree with that, but it was full conscription or you go to a super prison. That's conscription. A registered police force would be necessary, but not at that level. Yes, it would. Our nuclear warheads are not accessible. They don't walk around. They don't travel. No, not just anyone can use them. Iron Man is a nuclear weapon. Iron Man, one hero, one person who's a drunk, by the way, in many iterations, could end the world. That has to be regulated heavily. Negasonic Teenage Warhead is a teenager. She shouldn't be able to run around and do superheroics with no heavy supervision. It's just not realistic to say otherwise. Cap is fine. He has a shield. What damage is he causing?
Sean's gonna be out here giving dampening collars to mutants now.
Yeah, I'm here sounding like fucking what's this man's name, dude?
The
that created the
senator,
Sentinels?
what's his face?
Henry Gyrick.
Oh yeah, Garrick, yeah.
Oh.
Aaron Ruiz. If mutants were real, Sean would have a huge trouble siding with humanity if Jean Grey were real.
Listen, dude, if Jean Grey's real, right? I want her to put me out,
Careful.
like mentally shut me down and let me live in a dream world where it's only her and I. For the rest of my life, I don't even care what happens in the real world.
Sean wants the perpetual goon sesh.
Sean sides with the man, says Dan. Wow, that's nuts. I don't side with the man. I side with what's right.
Dan said, how's that boot taste?
Hey, you got to be alive to taste the boot, buddy.
Hey, listen, take me out.
Vengeance says Sean is kind of right because I can't even give you the number of times Marvel superhero human beings have a civil war between each other. Most of their events is just fighting each other. It's absolutely the case. If civil war really happened, New York would not be here.
You do not live in New York if you are a Civ in the Marvel universe. You move away.
mean, apparently you couldn't be in Connecticut.
Yeah, if
couldn't be in Oklahoma.
Let's be really honest. Let's be really real. You would not be able to be on Earth. You wouldn't be alive. We wouldn't be here to have this conversation. Earth would have ended a long time ago.
Well, I can't be on Mars either. The fucking mutants are up there.
Yeah, there'd be nothing left. A mutant would have been born. This is what would have happened. This is my projection of a real Marvel universe. A mutant is born, gets to around 13, 14 years old, is in high school. Gets rejected by a flame, gets bullied, gets this, that, or the third, blows up, and the world is over.
Yep.
Sean, can I introduce you to our Lord and Savior Apocalypse?
That it would be the apocalypse. What could stop that?
Literally nothing. Apocalypse would be king. We'd be living under Apocalypse's rule. And I, for one, welcome our leader.
How did we get here after spinning a wheel of games?
It's fucking fun. Hopefully you guys that are listening have enjoyed this little, I don't even know what this is, chat. American police sounds so much worse when they got superpowers. Imagine standing your ground law being used by a guy who chucks grenades like explosive fireballs. That sounds scary as fuck. I completely agree.
Yo, Pyro
And that's
on the police
Florida.
force?
Like,
Chill.
This is the problem with applying comic book realities to a real world experience. Well, hey, I said in comics, Cap is totally correct, but in real life, he's not. It's the breaks. All right, we got to get out of here. We got a lot of stuff we got to do. I hope you guys enjoy your Saturday. We're going to be Tyler and I are going to be watching the Royal Rumble a little bit later. I want to remind you. Go ahead, Tyler.
Who you got, Sean? Just since you brought that up.
CM Punk.
I want Gunther. I don't think it's going to happen, but I want Gunther.
Yeah, that's. You might as well choose Carlito at that point.
Santos Escobar.
Yeah, so patreon.com/thecomics-pals. Vote for Civil War 2 or, Civil War 1 for that matter, or any of these books. We've got some announcements coming about the nature of the book club and that stuff soon, so stay tuned for that. Patreon.com/thecomics-pals. Channel members, thank you so much. You can join our channel membership at youtube.com/thecomics-pals. We will be having a named by a listener, the very first segment named by a listener, Pen Pals. That'll be going up on our channel membership exclusively, not early access, totally exclusive. Once we get some questions and comments our way from you all. Watch this show live every Saturday at 10:15 a.m. Eastern. The next time we will be joining you live is Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern for Pals Pulls. Don't miss. What's up?
no, the next
Oh my
live one is
God.
the book club.
Thank you.
On
You're
Tuesday.
absolutely right. The next time we'll be joining you live is on Tuesday at 6 p.m. with the Dark Knight Returns book club, of which we'll be giving away one copy of the Dark Knight Returns trade, the graphic novel, to a listener who shows up, asks a question, or leaves a comment, and has the ability to interact with me on Discord to receive their prize. That's it. Thank you guys for joining us. We will see you on